Is acquitted of 3 of the more serious charges, but convicted of 2. More next on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. Sean Diddy Combs has been acquitted on the most serious charges against him. ABC's Aaron Katersky is outside the courtroom and said those convictions carry a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison.
All Sean Combs has been convicted of here is transportation for the purposes of prostitution. And those did seem to be the most evident crimes that Sean Combs committed. We heard testimony from the male escorts. The jury heard about the cash that they were paid, and as prosecutors told them, they were not in those hotel rooms for scintillating conversation.
Combs avoided charges for racketeering and sex trafficking. Local stories we're following were learning about a fatal motorcycle accident. American Fork police say it happened around 8:30 last night near 820 West State Street. A motorcyclist reportedly hit a car, dying in the accident. What led up to the crash is still under investigation. A record number of people are expected to drive out of town for the 4th of July, and travel experts say most people are expected to hit the road today. Amber Gallardo and Irene Tatera say when they leave for the 4th, they too like to leave a couple days early.
It's not always available on the 4th of July to go do stuff that we like, so we try and get early so we can get in and get stuff done.
And if we go a ways, we want to stay long enough to make it worth it.
AAA says the worst time to drive will be between noon and 9 o'clock tonight. UDOT is urging everyone to plan ahead and give yourself extra time no matter where you're going. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 30 points. Right now we're at 44,464. Coming up, we've got a chance for thunderstorms in the forecast. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
If you're a medical, wellness, or aesthetics practice owner who wants to enhance your profits and practice valuation while reducing your workload, this is a message you'll want to hear. The Hamlin Business Institute is holding the most transformative business class you'll ever take on Friday, August 1st in Salt Lake City. As a practice owner, this class can literally change your life and revolutionize your practice. With a 5-star Google review rating and certification by the DOPL for select professions, this class is meticulously crafted to meet your specific needs. Their previous participants rave about their experience. A staggering 96% are interested in additional classes from Hamlin Business Institute. 100% would recommend this class, and more than 3/4 said it was the most beneficial continuing education class they have ever taken. Sign up before July 20th and get a 40% discount with the code BUSINESS at HamlinBusinessInstitute.com. That's code BUSINESS at HamlinBusinessInstitute.com. Code BUSINESS at HamlinBusinessInstitute.com.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
1 in 6 Utah kids face hunger. And the summer months make things even more challenging because families can no longer rely on school meals to help them get by. These days, the situation is more dramatic than ever. That's why Utah Food Bank is again holding its annual Summer Business Food and Fund Drive, encouraging organizations of all sizes to gather food for donations for families. Beginning in early June and running through the end of August, The Summer Business Food and Fun Drive is your chance to make a difference for families seeking emergency food requests to help stretch their budgets. Rally your coworkers, friends, or a community group of any size to make a collection. Every dollar earned turns into more than $7 in the form of goods and services to help those in need. What are you waiting for? Organize your Summer Business Food and Fun Drive today. To find out more or to get ideas for your own DIY fundraiser, visit utahfoodbank.org.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, traffic is still crawling along right now on that transition ramp between I-215 to head south I-15 in the Midvale area. I don't know if there's a crash or debris, but whatever it is, it's holding people up from merging nicely onto southbound I-15 in that Midvale area. So add an extra 5 minutes or so to your commute. The rest of the drive is looking pretty good, especially on I-15. You might see a brake light or two in a few areas, but nothing that'll hold you up. And then you've got the delays eastbound I-80 between Kimball Junction and US 40, but it's only in the right lane. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off 10 windows or more. AdvancedWindows.com, affordable windows guaranteed. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll have clouds for the next few days, a chance of showers and thunderstorms that could lead to strong winds. That's today's forecast. Tomorrow, much the same. Right now, it's 81 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Did he or didn't he? I guess that's the question of the day. We have breaking news from a Manhattan courtroom. Sean Diddy Combs has been acquitted of the most serious charges against him today. Just within about a half an hour ago, the jury came back. He was facing 5 counts. Racketeering was the most serious, sex trafficking lesser serious, and he was acquitted of those, Holly, but the jury did find him guilty of prostitution-related crimes. ABC's Eric Katursky was outside the courtroom when the verdict was read and delivered this.
He has been found guilty on count 3, transportation for the purposes of prostitution. He has also been found guilty on count 5, transportation for the purposes of prostitution. These charges carry a maximum penalty of up to 10 years in prison, so we do have a split verdict.
So this case, I'll ask you some questions. I haven't been following it super closely. I mean, you can't avoid it really, but it's just so disturbing and I think gross. But tell me, first of all, why was there this split verdict?
So there were 5 counts, and they involved 2 victims, both of whom were his girlfriends at the time.
Okay.
And this case, I haven't followed it particularly well either, but it's tracked our program. It started about the same time we did. Verdict came back today. So there were 2 counts related to each of the girlfriends. One was were they trafficked? That is, were they forced into prostitution?
Okay.
And the jury found him not guilty of those because both of these females had sent him numerous texts and other communications saying, hey, let's do that again.
They had
that was
consented
fun.
at the time.
Arguably, they'd consented. Now, there was some video of him beating one of them up, almost like forcing her into this. But so he was acquitted of those 2 because there wasn't enough evidence that they were forced into this prostitution. But he was convicted of transportation for the purposes of engaging in prostitution because there's no question that they were prostituted, and that they transported them from one state to another to engage in that. And more importantly, there were some men who were hired to be with these women, and he sort of watched Diddy did and videotaped it and whatever. It's creepy. The case
That's
is just
more than I want to know.
from A to B, right? So, were they forced into it? No. But did they engage in it, and did they travel across state lines, and did others do that? Absolutely. So he was convicted of those 2 counts. Now, they're lesser. Yeah. They're lesser in terms of the severity of them. But the most serious count, the big ticket item that the government wanted, was this racketeering. In other words, was this a criminal enterprise? Did he engage in this for the purpose of making money?
Interesting.
And he so in a racketeering count, Holly, what's important is that it's part of a criminal enterprise, and you need several people to be involved in an enterprise. You can't do it by yourself. So the government brought in all of his, well, not all, but many of his employees and helpers, and said, you helped him with this. And they said, we didn't know what was going on in that bedroom.
Wow.
So there was no intent on their part to engage in a criminal enterprise.
Okay.
It wasn't organized.
Okay.
Organized crime requires some organization. But all of these people came in and said, hey, man, we didn't ask, we didn't talk, nobody told us what we were doing. They're bringing money in, they're bringing food in, they're bringing cameras in, they're bringing whatever into the room. The government made it sound like this was this big organized thing. The jury said no. That was the count that they were hung up on. If you recall yesterday, the jury said we have a verdict on 4 counts.
That's right.
Now looking back, those were the 2 transportation counts and the 2 trafficking counts. But the jury said we haven't made a decision yet on the racketeering, which I felt all along was the most difficult count for the prosecution. So I thought, man, if they can't decide that one, they must have found him guilty of the others. But I was wrong. They found him guilty of half of the others, and not the big ticket that the government really wanted, which was the racketeering.
So let me just clarify. So racketeering, if I'm looking at like maybe a mafia, right? You've got multiple players who know what they're doing, and in this case, the government was trying to say that, but the defense was able to say, look, all these people actually didn't know. They were just there doing their job as scheduler or whatever.
Right. It wasn't an organized criminal enterprise. It was just a one person shop. So the importance of that is this, that he faced up to life in prison had he been convicted of everything. Even the sex trafficking charges each carry a 20-year prison term maximum.
Wow.
But the transportation charges carry up to 10 years each. So that seems serious, and it is serious. But he's been in custody since the charges were filed, which was September. So he's been in custody now for, 9-10 months.
Yeah.
That might be a appropriate prison sentence for a first-time offender charged with this particular crime. So we're waiting right now. The judge is considering whether to release him now, today, pending his sentence, which would tell me that the judge is considering a time-served sentence, because it would be unusual for a judge to say, we're going to let you out, and then 2 months from now at sentencing, we're going to put you back in. He won't be sentenced today. We don't know what his ultimate punishment will be. We only know that he's guilty of crimes, 2 of 5, the two least serious crimes, each of which carry up to 10 years. But in the federal system, and this is a federal case, we have these guidelines, and I haven't run his guidelines yet, but I'm assuming that it's nowhere near 10 years. It may be
up to. Yeah.
So it's probably, especially with his, I'm sure he has no criminal history. I don't know what he's got, but probably not a significant criminal history. His guidelines are probably, 12 to 18 months or something like that.
Yeah.
He's already done half that. I don't know that he would go back. They're saying that will he be granted bail? They don't usually do bail in federal court, so he may just be released on his own recognizance.
So with this, do you have any idea whether they would be then consecutive? It sounds like maybe you think they'd be concurrent. The sentencing?
Great question. That's 100% up to the judge.
Okay.
So typically in a case like this where you have a victim crime and there are 2 victims, the judge would run them consecutively, punish him for each female.
Yeah.
If it was one victim that was used twice, then you would more likely run it concurrent. And that's just based on my experience.
Right.
That the law doesn't require that. That's just how judges typically act. Give each victim some justice, some feeling of justice, not just both at the same time. So they'll run them consecutively, which would mean that not necessarily that he would do more time, but that he may be on what we call supervised release. In the state system, we call it probation. The federal system, it's called supervised release. It's the same thing. That could go longer, more than 2 or 3, maybe 4 years.
So let me ask this question that I've wondered about just quickly. Why is there such a delay between the verdict and the sentencing?
Because the sentencing is about what are we going to do? What do we do with this person? And the judge will want to know as much as he can. That is to say, his prior criminal history, what led up to this, any sort of remorse or anything that he has. I mean, the judge will want to know. It's a whole write-up on your life, your education, your work history, everything like that. And, of course, you would think, well, that doesn't take very long. But in the federal system, those are often set for like 60 days down the road. We'll know his next date. I may be wrong about everything I'm talking about here today, that I think he's probably going to be released, and I think he's probably going to have a sentencing sometime in, what are we today, July. September maybe. He may stay in jail until then, and maybe the judge give him a year with time served or something like that. But yeah, I think that's what's going to happen, but we'll know more about that later, and we'll let you know to our listeners what that is, but we've got to move on to some other things. It seems like every day we have breaking news when we get here. It's great. You get here and you're watching the news, and all of a sudden, boom, jury's reached a verdict in Sean Diddy Combs' case that I wasn't following too closely just wasn't that interesting. It was creepy, but the jury's reached a verdict. When we come back, tens of millions of Americans are traveling for the holiday this weekend, including me. Travel experts say most of us will be driving like me. Good news, gas prices are down this year. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Wappett, Executive Director of the Institute for Disability Research Policy and Practice, or the IDRPP, at Utah State University. Did you know that 1 in 4 Utahns have a disability? Think about that. Your neighbor, your colleagues, your family. At some point, disability affects everyone. The USU IDRPP is on the front lines, driving change right here in Utah and across the nation for people with disabilities. For over 50 years, IDRPP has been Utah's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, generating vital research that shapes effective policies and delivers real-world solutions. From groundbreaking research to evidence-based training, the IDRPP empowers individuals with disabilities, their families, and the professionals who support them. We're making our communities more accessible and welcoming for everyone. Find out more at idrpp.usu.edu.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Are you struggling with pain in your feet, ankles, knees, hips, or lower back? At the Good Feet store, we recommend having high-quality support in all of your shoes. Our personalized arch support system has helped countless people find relief, like Karen. Here is her Good Feet story.
After I decided my pain was too much, and my doctor actually suggested that I do visit the Good Feet store. Pretty amazing when they put the arch supports in your shoe and you walk around and you realize there's not pain, and you think, how can this arch support in my shoe make my back pain go away? But it works. And how can it make my knee pain go away? It was incredible.
Come to the Good Feet store today and see what we can do for you. Good Feet arch supports are in stock and available in over 300 different styles and sizes.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Stop in today at the Good Feet store.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
Lowe's knows how to set off your July 4th with savings. Right now, buy one, get one free on select one-coat coverage interior paint via Visa gift card rebate. Plus, get 2 select 2 or 2.5 quart red, white, and blue annuals for just $10. Hurry, these July 4th deals won't last long. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 7/9. Selection varies by location. While supplies last, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for more details.
Held over due to popular demand. This is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandswimspasale.com.
Inside Sources.
A record number of people are expected to travel for the 4th of July, and the vast majority of those are expected to drive. That includes me, Holly. You're not traveling
Not
this weekend. Okay, well, we're going down. We got a little place in the central part of the state near Capitol Reef, and we're going down there for the weekend. So we'll be part of the mass drive, the mass exodus. And every year, you sort of think about, okay, when are people going to leave?
Right. And
also,
how can I avoid the traffic
how can I
jam?
avoid the traffic? Most of our travel, at least half of it, is on I-15 because we're going south, and then we get off some of the side roads there. But I-15, kind of depending on where you go, because if you're traveling south and you're traveling south during rush hour, it's a double whammy because you not only have the rush hour traffic, but you have the commuter, the
vacation.
The vacation is right with the boats and the trucks and,
Yeah.
and everything like that, and it can be a real mess. Luckily, we have with us today Mitch Shaw, spokesperson for UDOT, to give our listeners a little bit of heads up as to when best to go and when to avoid the roads. Mitch, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good to be here. What you said is kind of dead on. So whenever we have a holiday at the beginning of the week or the end of the week, like we're going to have this week with July 4th on a Friday, it kind of makes sense that everyone leaves at the same time and returns at the same time. When you have the holiday in the middle of the week, the travel times are a little bit more spread out. So, yeah, we expect to see some congestion on I-15, both northbound and southbound, actually, in Salt Lake County. Not too bad, but we're expecting around 10 minutes of what you typically see during a evening commute period. And we're also expecting that 10-minute delay up in Davis County and northbound I-15. And it's essentially from, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 7 p.m. at night. So what we're seeing is people are excited to get out and enjoy the July 4th holiday. So there's that travel, people going on vacation, going into the mountains, wherever they're going. That's coupled with the regular evening commute. And that just kind of, creates some additional congestion. So if you can, get out a little bit earlier than kind of that 2 to 3 p.m. maybe time period, or even a little later after 7 p.m. it should clear out by then. So on July 3rd, that's probably something that people should think about and kind of plan accordingly.
So are you saying, do you think the heaviest travel day leaving town will be tomorrow?
Yeah. Yep. So Thursday.
And then coming
July
back
3rd.
probably Sunday?
Yes. So Sunday, we're not really expecting a lot of congestion on I-15, just because people can come back at different times. It's not a work day, so people leave at various different times, so that helps. And then also you don't have any of that regular either morning or evening commute traffic. But so we are expecting some pretty significant delays on that Sunday return home on US 6. So US 6 kind of near Wellington. There's going to be just a lot of people heading back. So we're expecting delay from anywhere from 11:30 a.m. all the way up through 7 p.m. on July 6th on US 6 near Wellington, because we've got a construction project going on, and we do suspend most of the work for our construction projects. But this situation we're doing some bridge repairs, and it's just, we're not going to be working, but the configuration of the project and the configuration of the road, there's going to be a small section where it's cut down to one lane, so it will kind of create a bottleneck.
Yeah.
So if you're traveling westbound US 6 on July 6th in that Wellington area, prepare to probably encounter some delay if you're traveling any time in the middle of the day, basically.
Prepare to be patient.
Yeah, Mitch, I agree with you, just having traveled this route numerous times, that tomorrow is going to be the worst time. And I have to work tomorrow, so I can't leave until tomorrow afternoon. But AAA seems to think that the worst time to drive will be today, those same times you
nationwide,
indicated. Yeah, nationwide. That I guess a lot of people are taking a 4-day weekend. And maybe that's good news, bad news, because if it splits up the big traffic times, like you say, coming back Sunday, people can split it up a little, come back at various times. Usually, as people are leaving, it's after work, so it's that time of day. But do you think there's anything to what AAA is saying, that today might be a big day for an exodus also?
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you can imagine that people want to take that extra day of vacation, and they'll probably do that. But our analysis doesn't really predict a lot of delay for today, because, like you said, most people are working today, and a lot of people are working tomorrow too. So, yeah, the biggest delay we're looking at is tomorrow, because people want to be at their destination for the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
It just, yeah, but it makes sense that, there could also be some residual traffic impacts, today during probably the evening commute, but we don't anticipate anything significant. So, it could be a little delay here or there, but nothing significant like we're expecting on Thursday.
Do you have any top trouble areas in the state that you're watching? I mean, is it the national parks? Is it really just I-15 along the Wasatch Front, or are there other areas where, besides Wellington?
Highway 6, right?
Yeah. So, of course, we've got, as I mentioned, we've got the US 6.
Right.
That's definitely something we're looking at. But really, a holiday like July 4th, people are going anywhere and everywhere. I mean, you could have people going to the national parks here in Utah. You could have people traveling north up to like Yellowstone, Teton National Park area, and anywhere in between. But the real spot that we look at is I-15. And like I said, that's just because that's the main north-south route, and we're kind of squeezed in between the Great Salt Lake and the Wasatch Mountains. And so, you've got people traveling for work, and then you couple that, like I said before, with people trying to get out of town and go on vacation. That's I-15 is kind of always the thing that we look at. So, like I said, again, if you can get up and leave earlier, if you can leave before the afternoon, great. And even if you can leave later after 7 p.m., that'll help not only you, but it'll help everybody traveling. The more cars we can get off the road, and the more we can get things to spread out, the better it will be. And that's kind of why we message this kind of stuff, get the word out to people what we're expecting.
But with respect to our major thoroughfares, I-15, I-80, I-70, Mitch, you don't foresee, there aren't any major construction projects on any of those that we should be. And I'm sure that you don't know every mile of the road between now and then. Actually, you probably do. But anything on those three that we should be aware of in terms of traffic problems, construction?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, essentially when we have a holiday like July 4th, or when we have Memorial Day or Labor Day, those are traditionally some pretty big. And there's other holidays too, but those are some of the bigger travel holidays that come to mind. They're kind of smack dab in the middle of summer when a lot of people do their vacationing. We will suspend our construction work. So we basically, like a lot of the jobs that we're doing now, will stop.
Yeah.
Today will be the last day until like the 7th.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah,
that's good.
I mean, it's just kind of, it's an absolute, it's basically a necessity. It's something that we do. But I will say, so like, for example, like I mentioned earlier with the US 6 thing, where we are going to stop work, but just the nature of the work that we're doing won't allow us to open up that extra lane.
Right.
There are some scenarios like that. Like we've got our 5600 South project up here in Weber County, where I'm located. So we're building a new interchange on 5600 South. And right now, as people who live up in this area and who drive up in this area, commute up in this area, they know the freeway is down to 3 lanes through that section. Right. So near Roy, kind of near the Weber-Davis County border. And that's just kind of, that'll remain in place. We can't do anything to change that right now because we've got work happening. The road's tore up. So there's things like that. But for the most part, we try to get off the roads and open all the lanes that we can.
Thank you for talking with us today, Mitch. We've been talking with Mitch Shaw, spokesperson with UDOT. And I just wanted to add that it is lower gas prices. We do have lower gas prices compared to last year and even the last couple of years. So they're the lowest nationally since 2021, I think. And so the national average, according to AAA, is $3.17 a gallon. But Utah beats the national average, and we're at $3.33.
That's pretty good because people are taking their boats out, their motorhomes, their off-road vehicles, whatever. That's great. And I remember thinking I'll take the scenic route home one day, and we did go through Highway 6, through Price. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
American Fork Canyon, I think it is. Spanish Fork Canyon.
Spanish Fork,
yeah, depending on which side you're on, is gorgeous. But we were stopped for hours, so avoid that area. I know exactly where he's talking about there in Wellington. As we enter the fireworks season, 90% of the state is in a drought, but Utahns are still using a lot of water, losing some too, more than usual. We'll talk about the water worries after this.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour is developing news. Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty of 2 of the 5 charges he faced in his sex trafficking and racketeering trial. ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer and defense attorney has more on today's verdicts.
I'm not even sure if I would say there would be an appeal, because for Sean Combs and his defense team, this is a massive win. 3 of the counts that had a life sentence possibility are gone. When it comes to transportation to engage in prostitution, the minimum is nothing. There's a theoretical possibility that he walks out on probation. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No, but the max is 10 years.
His family members cheered as he exited the courtroom. His mother was there for most of the trial. Back here in Utah, the state's water supply is depleting faster and earlier than usual. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla.
More water is going out than coming in, and that's something we typically don't see until later in the year. KSL.com reports it's in part because of an early onset summer heat. The average temperature for the first 5 months of the year was among the warmest since 1895, and the lack of rain has us at the 20th driest start to the year in more than a century. Monsoon season could help the state get back some of that moisture, but summer rain typically gives moisture back to the soil rather than adds to the state's water supply. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
The heat is taking a toll in more than one way. The West Valley City Library actually had to shut down early yesterday due to the excessive heat. It's expected to open up again today with normal hours. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up now 25 points. We're at 44,520. Coming up, a chance of thunderstorms with some wind later on today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
I am down 50 pounds in 11 weeks, and this program works. The pounds melt off. It's amazing.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself.
Get in the best shape of your life with SOTA Weight Loss.
Just 3 weeks in, and pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Summer is right around the corner. Your summer body starts right here because SOTA's summer savings are on.
Every single day, SOTA Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I tried other things, came to SOTA, just amazing.
I started on SOTA 8 months ago, and I have released 80 pounds now.
Summer savings, stunning results, only at SOTA Weight Loss. Get started now at SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
SOTA is, say it with me, state of the art.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink and McGregor Mortgages Made Simple. I know a lot of people are holding on to their low-rate mortgages. After all, who wants to give that up? While sometimes it makes sense or is necessary because of life circumstances, a lot of folks have been holding off waiting for lower rates. While we never know how long that will be, there is a stopgap solution, a home equity line of credit, also known as a HELOC. There are also fixed-rate second mortgage options available. A HELOC has a variable rate and is a line of credit that can be tapped, paid down, and tapped again as circumstances arise. A pure second is usually a fixed rate for a fixed term. We have details and we have solutions. Call us at Fink and McGregor or apply online at 4minutemortgage.com. Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. NMLS 289115.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And here's Heather Kelly.
We've got a bit of slowing right now northbound I-15 as you go past the Spaghetti Bowl. That's where I-80 and the 201 freeway meet up with I-15 all the way into downtown Salt Lake. No accidents there, just some merging issues. And then the earlier delays we had on I-80 heading eastbound, both in Tooele County around Lake Point, as well as approaching US 40 in Summit County. Those have cleared out for the moment, but don't be surprised if you see them return. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with Human Kindness is here. Hello, Human Kindness. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have a cloudy few days ahead of us. Today, a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon that could come with strong winds. Tomorrow, more of the same. Right now, it's 82 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
You know, Utah is still in a drought, Holly, but Utahns are using more water than usual this summer. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The state's water supply is getting lower faster. KSL.com reports the amount flowing out is outpacing the amount flowing in, a trend water managers typically don't see until later in the year. Officials say it's partly because this summer got hot pretty early on. The average temperature in the first 5 months of the year was one of the top 10 warmest starts since 1895. That's according to the National Centers for Environmental Information. It also says the low precipitation this year also made it the 20th driest start in 131 years. But the monsoons this summer do have the potential to ease some of the water worries. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
So we have in studio with us the KSL meteorologist, Matt Johnson. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, I have a question, right? We live in a desert. We're back in drought. I think there's 91% of the state is now in drought. And yet we're talking about monsoons. And I equate monsoons with like tropical. So how do we have a desert and monsoons? Can you explain that?
Right. So, and monsoons happen all over the world. The desert Southwest North American monsoon is the one that we witness. And it is predominantly a Arizona and New Mexico thing. However, here in Utah, we do tap into that monsoon moisture every late summer. Monsoon is basically when the continent, North American continent, heats up much faster than the ocean temperature. And so you get a contrast between the really hot continent surface versus the water, which is relatively cooler, namely Gulf of America and Sea of Cortez. And so that difference draws in air from those bodies of water. Consequently, it has a lot of deep water vapor with it. So we get a tropical flow as we get into the midsummer and early fall. And so that'll bring in water vapor that's available for afternoon thunderstorms to form.
So, Matt, where are we in relation to the monsoon season? Is it coming up? Or and I guess another question is, how do you guys know that it's monsoon? So, is it just because you can tell, boy, the continent's really warm this year, the oceans are a little cooler,
right?
We can expect something.
It's a natural phenomenon that happens every year, but technically it starts June 15th in Arizona. Here in Utah, southern Utah, we start tapping into that monsoon early July.
That's now.
Yeah, which is now. But it's kind of a funny thing in weather. It's always joked that everything is an approximation, right?
Right.
Because as we know, it's not like weather just stays within state borders or anything like that. And so there's some give and go on that, right? But southern Utah, yeah, usually early July through early September. But really the heart of it is late July into early August.
So when we've had monsoons hit, I guess, southern Utah before and cause flooding, is that where we're seeing like some of those really big flash flooding? Is that coming from this monsoon weather pattern?
Yeah, there's a chance for some flash flooding today.
Oh, wow.
Down in southern Utah, namely predominantly in the areas of dry washes and slot canyons, right, where the earth just isn't going to absorb the rain that falls. But this, I'll call it pulse of moisture that's moving in, isn't the deepest tap. So it doesn't have it has water vapor with it, but it's not that really deep subtropical tap. But it's enough to get some storms going, and it's a low-end threat for flash flooding for southern Utah.
And you've got to think, Matt, that some of these areas in that southern part of the state that are experiencing fires right now, flash floods or not, they've got to be grateful that they are going to see some water. So is there some optimism down there?
There is. Yeah, there is for the France Canyon and Forsyth fire. There is a chance we can get some storms over those fires. Granted, we don't want that heavy rain.
Sure.
Yeah.
But at this stage in the game, any rain would be great. We just have to keep an eye out for mudslides on those burn scars as the vegetation is now gone in those areas.
Yeah. What can we expect this weekend, 4th of July weather outlook?
Right. So good news is these thunderstorms that we have, they'll pop up today, tomorrow, and I'm putting a maybe on Friday. And that's because the atmosphere is going to start drying on Friday. And so I think the best chance for storms on 4th of July is going to be Salt Lake City north.
Oh.
But for Salt Lake City south, I'm only giving it a 20% chance. Really, the big impact is going to be it's going to be a little bit breezy on Friday. My hope is that the wind's not blowing so hard that we have to cancel fireworks shows.
Right.
Usually in the evening during the summertime, you can get that wind to calm down, but if it doesn't, it could cause trouble. Rest of the holiday weekend, though, looks good, hot and sunny.
So, I was going to say, so national parks, I know that they're all over the state and they don't all have the same temperature, but we can expect our national parks, our guests, our tourist people that are coming here, and even some of us that are traveling to those, to have a pleasant weekend, albeit hot.
Right, yeah. I think down in the southern and southeast corner, it'll be hot, but pretty standard July 4th weekend weather for the southern half.
You know, when I drive home, I drive north and I drive by Pineview Reservoir. It still seems, Matt, that reservoir is high, and maybe just because we've had some dry years, but we're hearing that water's bad and conditions are bad. Maybe they're just holding back, but we're going to get some water up there too, and hopefully that part of the state in the next couple of days is going to get some water toward that reservoir up there. Yeah.
There's definitely a chance we can add a little bit from these monsoon storms, and the benefit of having a really wet 2023 and 2024 is we get that carryover in our reservoirs. But I think the consumption rate right now is really concerning, just because we're consuming it at a rate that is a little above normal, and so with our driest months of the year ahead of us here, we gotta think differently.
I've had my sprinklers on since May, and I have these great big brown patches still in my yard, and it's like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to water every day. That's not great use of water, but it's not looking very good.
Hopefully we can get some of this rain to help.
And then beyond the monsoon, I know forecasts can go only so far, but do you think that July is going to be extraordinarily wet or dry, or after, let's say, the monsoon blows through here in the next week or so?
June was really dry, wasn't it?
Yeah, June was really dry, 17% of normal in the rain gauge. And the difficulty here is, right, we look at these models, and in the spring leading into summer, the outlook was for a plentiful, a very well-producing monsoon season. Granted, we're not in the heart of it yet. But there's been a shift in the long-range models, and the outlook for July itself is not necessarily leaning towards wetter than normal.
Wow.
Equal chances. And what that means is there's a 30% chance we fall below normal, 30% chance that we hit normal, and 30% chance that – so basically a 50-50, right? If you look at it down the road. But My hope is that the spring outlook for this monsoon season still runs true. And one of the telltale signs of that is a weak snowpack year. Low snowpack years usually yield a fruitful monsoon season, but it's not guaranteed. But there's a correlation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
Well, thanks for joining us, Matt. You're always so available and willing to come in. It sounds like the perfect weather this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, really, we need the water. We're going to get
not
it,
as hot.
But
Not
by
triple
the time
digits
we get on the road, and share our weekend, it's going to be pretty good. Well, next, when we come back, now that the Salt Lake Bees have moved out of downtown Salt Lake City, have you wondered what will happen with the ballpark there, which is a beautiful setting? There are some plans, and we'll talk about what those are and hear some reaction from the community next.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
When you take your grandkids to Disney, do they know what's in your investment portfolio? Do they even care? They're busy having a great time, and you're busy making memories. At Galileo Wealth Management, we understand the nuts and bolts of retirement planning, our investments, the stock market, taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and more. But think about it. What are you trying to do here? Is your goal to beat the S&P? Or is your goal to make memories with your family? Our goal is to give you the confidence to spend in retirement without the fear of running out of money. Call Todd Kim at Galileo Wealth Management today. 801-516-3227. That's 801-516-3227. Or go online to GalileoWealth.com. Let Todd Kim and Galileo Wealth Management help you make memories, not just money.
Right now at S&S Roofing, get $1,000 off any roof replacement. Plus, you'll get their incredible 50-year worry-free warranty. Dial pound 250 and then say the keyword S&S Roofing for a free bid.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol.
If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
And expanded Inside Sources.
For years and years, we've enjoyed a beautiful ballpark here in Salt Lake City, Holly. I remember when it used to be called Dirks Field. I don't know if you remember that.
Nope.
But the Salt Lake Bees played there, and then they changed to different names and different teams. And they were always either a AAA team. We actually had a rookie team there, or a first-year team there for a little while. But that's moving. And Smith's Ballpark, which is the most recent name that it's had, is now being moved out to the Daybreak area. They've got a beautiful setting
already
out
started,
there. Yeah,
yep.
it's all going. So what's going to happen with the current ballpark? I mean, we don't know. Mayor Erin Mendenhall said housing will be a big part, however, of that redevelopment.
They want to see market rate housing here as well, because when we have a mix of affordability, it supports businesses that can thrive in the community. So in the future phases of this development, you will see home ownership opportunities.
So the city says it's still early in the process, but they're hoping for a space, of course, that's active year-round. We have a proposal then that was released last night, and joining us today is Amy Hawkins, the Ballpark Community Council Chair. Welcome, Amy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and for hosting this topic especially. We really appreciate it.
That's awesome. Can you just give us an overview of what the plan kind of lays out for the vision of this space?
Sure. We see a mix of, it's 15 acres to start with. You know, it's 15 acres that's owned by Salt Lake City. And currently we have a fire station there. We have the ballpark stadium, and we have a parking lot on the north side of the street. This plan re-envisions that into 450 units of housing, the details of which I'm not entirely sure on, a hotel, some green space, including a community field, replacing the fire station, and also a permanent library site for the neighborhood.
Okay, so I think I understand the area pretty well. I know where the fire station is in relation to the ballpark. It's sort of east of the ballpark. What will happen to the actual facility, the big beautiful ballpark? Is it all coming down?
No, it's not all coming down, and the neighborhood supported that a lot. The idea that we could have adaptive reuse of part of the stadium. I believe the north-facing part of the stadium is coming down, and then the part that sits on the western edge, right at West Temple, that will stay. And I think there's going to be something like 3,500 seats of the stadium that are going to be retained in that part. And the idea is that structure could be reused for concert settings, that sort of thing, community events. And the structure is actually surprisingly sound. If we wanted to reuse the whole thing, we could. It was built in 1994, I believe, and we did a structural analysis as part of this plan to see how stable is it. Turns out pretty good.
Interesting. What has been the community reaction to the just these first plans and even discussions getting to this point?
Sure. Well, it's only been a day that we've had these plans in hand, right? But so far, folks who are responding to me are saying things like, "Well, that's a lot more housing than I anticipated." There's a recognition that nationwide that we have a housing shortage, right? And so we were assured as a neighborhood that it won't just become housing, and the plan definitely reflects it is not just housing, but it's still more than people thought. People are excited. The visuals that come with the project are really cool, and it does reflect some things that we brought up as a community again and again. And we're especially excited about the idea that the creek underneath 1300 South will be daylighted for a short portion on the north side of 1300 South. People like the idea of not only green space, but what people in urban planning and health call blue space. Some kind of water going through the neighborhood's really cool.
So you've got that large parking area to the north, and I assume that's going to be where most of your housing is going to go. I mean, I guess the whole area is going to be, you got the fire station and whatnot coming down. You say there's going to be a hotel there also?
That's our understanding, yeah.
Where would that be? And maybe you don't know yet.
I think it's on the south side of the street, but
yeah, I understand.
I'm given to understand that a lot of this plan is still somewhat flexible. You know, I've heard from some people that we're definitely selling off public land for this project, and I've heard from others that's still up for negotiation. And I think that's really important because, you know, we've recently had a national conversation. Should we sell off public land and public assets to create housing?
Right. Yeah.
We have had that
conversation here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. You talk about keeping what I would call the first base side, which is the west side of the stadium, which of course faces east. So in the afternoons, that's a perfect place to sit. You're thinking maybe 3,500 seats, almost like an amphitheater is what you're describing. Isn't that what you're kind of talking about there? So that you can have concerts and things like that?
Yeah, that's my impression. It sounds really pleasant, doesn't it? And I don't think we have anything exactly like that yet in this part of the city. So maybe if anybody has experience at the Sandy Amphitheater, I think that's sort of a comparatively sized venue. Maybe we'd be thinking about events like that.
So what is the time frame? I know the plans were just released yesterday, and it feels like sometimes these things take a while. What are you anticipating for time frame?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I haven't been privy to the timeline, and I haven't really. I keep hearing the phrase high level being discussed. I think any kind of timeline and plan is high level, and I know there'll be phased development. Right, different things will happen at different stages. I believe I heard the mayor say yesterday in a recording that we could anticipate demolitions starting within a year or two. But
wow! And I'm assuming
that's the best I know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that financing this is on a high level too, Amy. Are there grants or anything that the city's able to apply? Or I mean, you don't need maybe to commit to anything, but is there money available either federally or from the state that can help us redevelop?
I'm afraid that's above my volunteer pay grade.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Very well. This sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, potentially,
I think it'll
right?
be great. I think it'll be great, but I definitely have heard folks say, you know, there's a little concern about how much green space we might be sacrificing for future generations for this project. Sure. And we know, you know, health disparities were taken into account in this plan, and that shows up, right? We're hearing about getting a grocery store. We're hearing about getting maybe a fitness center, things that can really directly affect people's daily health experience. But we also know green space affects people's daily health experience. And so does the actual temperature of their neighborhood.
Right.
And we know that our neighborhood, Ballpark, is hotter than other areas of the city because we have fewer trees, we don't have green space, and the city studied this. You know, they put out a study in 2019 showing that this neighborhood is at the lowest amount of parks and green space per acre compared to any other area of the city.
Right.
So I think it's an important time to ask, maybe even model scientifically, like what will this neighborhood look like in 50 years or 100 years in terms of how much hotter we are than other areas of the city if we dedicated more of this area to green space?
Yeah.
What would it look like if we dedicated more of it to concrete? I think these are good questions that folks should ask.
They are. Thank you so much for joining us, Amy. We've been talking with Amy Hawkins, the Ballpark Community Council Chair, volunteer in that area.
Yeah, and I'm glad they're doing something with that area. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with the actual ballpark itself because it was in like a cover, or excuse me, the centerfold of Sports Illustrated one year because it had that beautiful. If you look to you look out the third base side, it's the mountains. It's the Wasatch Mountains.
Right,
it's just a gorgeous field, and it has great seating. It's a great place to watch a ball game. at least it was. It never will be again.
Well, you could have local things, right? I mean, they're saying if you have part of the seating and you still have some space, you could have kids ball.
Sure, absolutely. And the amphitheater sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm seeing is that they're still going to be having community events ongoing, starting, in fact, next week. It's July 11th, which I think is next Friday. There's going to be a free showing of Shrek, and it's family friendly and also pet friendly, so you can bring your pets and come out and watch a movie.
And we do need the housing. We do need the housing.
Yeah, that's a lot, but I think Amy made a great point about needing green space, and I like that blue space too.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking all week, Holly, about the One Big Beautiful Bill. Actually, all month of June, we talked about it also, and how it's estimated to add $3 trillion to the deficit. What does that mean exactly? We'll break that down.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story: the number of older Utahns is growing while the younger population is shrinking. But the state still has the youngest population in the nation. Afton January with Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services says we need to get to know our neighbors.
There are very likely families with young children and aging older adults within walking distance of your front door. And I think it behooves all of us as Utahns to know who the people are that we live around.
January says neighbors should be aware of each other's basic needs. She says the shift comes at a time when budgets are tight, putting pressure on services like Meals on Wheels and midday meals at senior centers. The Census Bureau looked at the trends between 2020 and 2024, which mirror what's happening nationally. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: suspected University of Idaho college killer Bryan Kohberger is expected to officially change his plea to guilty to all 4 murders when a court hearing gets underway.
Bryan Kohberger's parents have also made their way from Pennsylvania to Boise for the hearing, telling us in a statement, "We will continue to let the legal process unfold." Now, if a guilty plea is entered, they do expect sentencing to happen later this month, and at that hearing, they will allow for victim impact statements.
That hearing should get underway in about an hour. ABC's Kana Whitworth reports if the judge accepts the plea deal, Kohberger will not face the death penalty, but he will spend the rest of his life in prison. Your money at this moment: the Dow is off 4 points. We're at 44,490. Coming up, watch out for thunderstorms and some strong wind later today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive so you can stop worrying about them and invent new things to worry about, like snakes in your bedroom. Sure, that sounds incredibly irrational, but now that we've mentioned it, you are a little worried. The odds of one snake, let alone snakes plural, are so slim. But you might want to check. Oh, you're not near your bedroom. Guess you'll just have to sit there and worry about it. So let Progressive protect your home and auto, because you've got enough to worry about. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing for a summer sale, starting at $20 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $20 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half-price granite, affordable luxury.
Held over due to popular demand. This is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And back to you, Heather.
Well, the good news is we are crash-free on all the major freeways across the Wasatch Front. No problems on I-15, the east or west side belt routes, the 201 freeway. We do have plenty of construction barrels around, though, on all the major roadways, so that will slow you down from time to time. And we've just had a report of a crash in Little Cottonwood Canyon. This is westbound as you leave Snowbird, but before you get to the Tanner Flats. Apparently it's out of traffic, or at least on the shoulder. No lanes are blocked. I'm not seeing a whole lot of delay in that area. Jordan Valley Water says we're using about 12% more water than last year, even though we don't need to. Let's fix that. Water 1 day less each week. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Keep an eye out for scattered thunderstorms this afternoon, which could produce some strong winds. Today's high, 94 degrees, pretty much the same tomorrow, except for a little cooler, 88 for a high. Then the storms start clearing out on the 4th of July, Friday. Right now, it's 82 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
$3.3 trillion, Holly. That's how much the one big beautiful bill is estimated to add to our national deficit. As the one big beautiful bill makes its way through Congress, the Senate passed it yesterday. It was a tie vote, but our Vice President split the vote. Now it's with the House. What are the implications of this massive amount of debt that could be piled on?
You know, it's also going to face some trouble in the House, actually, because there are House Republicans. You remember, it only passed by one vote in the House as well, 215 to 214. And there are House Republicans saying, we told you not to change it. Yeah. And it was changed, and now they're like, we're not going to vote for it. But I think in the end they will. But
yeah, and ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott said this.
By one estimate, the bill would add at least $3.3 trillion to the debt over the next 10 years. The bill includes roughly $4 trillion in tax cuts, mostly for the wealthiest Americans, and fulfills some campaign promises like no taxes on tips and overtime. But it defies Trump's repeated pledge that he would not cut Medicaid. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office predicts some 11.8 million Americans could lose their health coverage over the next decade.
That's really a lot.
Yeah.
So we actually have Robert Spinlove with us again. He's a senior economist with Zions Bank and former member of the Utah House of Representatives. And he's here to talk to us about some of the impacts. What does it actually mean to add this much to the deficit? Thanks for joining us again, Robert.
Well, it's great to be with you.
So tell us, what are the impacts? What can we expect? Is it going to trickle down to individual citizens, or what does this actually mean?
Yeah, and this can get really complex when you talk about the deficit and the debt.
Right.
I like to try to drill it down to what it would look like at an individual level. And so what you're looking at is income versus spending. And the federal government pulls in income, we call it revenue, and then they spend money. And if you have more income than spending, you have a surplus. If you have more spending than income, then you have a deficit. And, that's the annual difference. So last year, the budget deficit was about $1.8 trillion. Our goal is to bring that down to zero. But the problem we run into is the House bill adds $2.4 trillion to the deficit, and then the Senate bill adds $3.3 trillion to the deficit. And then, that annual budget deficit adds up to a larger national debt. So our national debt is now $36 trillion. What does that mean? I mean, it's such a big number that it just doesn't even make sense. But if we look at it like at a debt-to-income ratio, it's about 100%, 98% of the national income, gross domestic product. And so the big question is, when does that become too big to handle, and what do we have to do to really control that deficit and that debt?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, Robert. At what point does it become unmanageable for the United States and make us, bankrupt's not the right word, but at least unable to manage our debt? Maybe we've already crossed that threshold.
Well, and that's the big debate. So, what we know that is, and just again, think back to your household or an individual. If you have higher debt, you have a lower credit rating, and a lower credit rating means you're going to pay higher interest rates if you go to borrow. So we're already seeing signs of that. The national debt or the U.S. government credit rating has been downgraded several times now. What we're watching for is to see if it starts pushing up interest rates. And we haven't seen it yet, but the fear is that if you get above 100% of debt to GDP ratio, it's going to start pressuring that. People are going to get more nervous to buy that or pay for that government debt, and it'll start pushing those interest rates up higher. Now, the federal government will always pay their bills, but if those rates keep going up, they're going to have to print more money to pay that, and that could cause higher inflation and lower economic growth. And so that's kind of the big fear if we don't get this debt under control.
So one of my questions for you, Robert, is it feels to me like they just don't care, right? That it feels like no matter who's in the White House, no matter who has control, I hear a lot of people talking about we need to reduce our deficit, we need to reduce our debt, right? Reduce federal spending. Well, I hear that. It doesn't matter who's in office, and yet nobody does it. Nobody does it. Are they? Yeah. Do they actually care?
Well, and that's the problem is, and that's kind of what's happening right now with those fiscal conservatives. They're worried that this bill kind of abandons those principles, that it increases the deficit and the debt. And they're saying, we're not going to go along with this. In fact, right now they're being called into the White House, essentially, told to get in line. And they're saying, at what point do we just kind of abandon all our principles and just go along with these increases? Now, I don't really care. As an economist, I don't care whether they increase revenue or decrease spending. But what we've got right now is we don't have enough revenue to meet our spending. And so the bill, cuts taxes or cuts revenue by too much and doesn't cut spending by enough. And so that's where they're having this struggle to come together.
So when the administration proposes a bill like this, Robert, they've got to have some notion that this is going to increase the debt. You say that the House version has $2.4 trillion, the Senate $3.3 trillion. I mean, what was the logic behind this big, beautiful bill if, in fact, it does, and I'm asking you to sort of play devil's advocate for the administration, if, in fact, it does increase the debt by such a great amount?
Yep. And so there's a few different things that the White House and bill proponents are saying. So it's kind of looking at what it will do to the overall economy. So this year, the economy is expected to grow by about 1.5%. So we would need economic growth to double to 3% to pay for the bill. The White House says that this will cause the economy to grow by 4.5%. So they say this will be such a strong economic benefit that it will more than pay for the bill, and that it's worth it to take this risk because we're going to have such a strong reward with increased business spending, consumer spending, consumer confidence that will grow the economy.
If I look at my family and if I were to say to my husband, hey, I think I can double what we're planning on for income. Let me spend it all right now. He would not be impressed, I think, at my logic.
And that's a struggle you run into, that, Congressional Budget Office says it may grow the economy, but not that much. Other budget watchdogs say it's not going to be enough to pay for the bill. And so you need to come up with other ways to cover this revenue shortfall.
Well, thanks for joining us again, Robert. You've always been so available to the show and so insightful, and we learn a lot from you every time you're here. Holly, now it's at the House. This is a holiday weekend.
Yep.
Trump sort of gave a arbitrary deadline of, hey, let's get this done by the 4th of July. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, although the deadline isn't necessarily critical to what's going on. But do you think the House is jumping on this now, or do you think we're going to take a break?
I think they are jumping on this now, but I've seen some news stories today that says one of the problems that Speaker Mike Johnson is having pulling people in is weather. So there's weather delays back east. People can't catch their flights. They can't get back to D.C. because they went home for a little break. The House people did while the Senate was debating. So now they're trying to get back there so they can vote on this, and they're being delayed. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, when we come back after the break, Holly, kids have always done some dumb things based on things they've seen on social media. But those problems have been magnified, and we're going to talk about a very heartbreaking case in New York. Stay with us.
At Trio Senior Living, older adults aren't slowing down. They're just getting started. The Prime Fit Wellness Program expands wellness beyond the gym into every aspect of community life. Whatever your goals, the team at Trio Senior Living has got your back, so you can put your best foot forward. Call 801-475-4004 today to schedule your personal visit.
Selling or buying a home, you're losing a lot of money if you're not using the Bank Buster loan. This is Rod with the SaveRight Realtor team at RealtyPath. Nothing compares to the Bank Buster loan. Home sellers, you get a quicker sell and a higher net price. How? The buyer of your home gets a rate as low as 4.75% with a payment that saves them hundreds every month. The ultra-low Bank Buster rate is not a seller concession that comes out of your pocket. It's all thanks to our affiliate lender, SaveRight Mortgage, and their Bank Buster loan. Hire the SaveRight Realtors when you sell or buy a home, and you automatically get a preferred lender and a Bank Buster loan. Buyers, you can start with a rate in the ones. Don't lose tens of thousands of your hard-earned money. Sell and buy your home with a Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does your job require you to be on your feet all day? Teachers, postal carriers, salespeople, and restaurant staff. Many of us need our feet to get us through the day. Hi, this is Mike with the Good Feet store, and I'd like you to hear from Donna. She's a nurse and a real customer of the Good Feet store who wanted to share her story.
Oh, I have to tell you, I have struggled with pain in my feet. I was diagnosed with plantar fasciitis. With the 3-step program, it really fits to your lifestyle. I work in a hospital. I'm a registered nurse, so being on my feet, walking throughout the hospital during the day, I am free from any type of pain. And after working a 12-hour shift, I go home and my feet do not hurt.
Whether you're a nurse or anyone wanting to enjoy work without your feet getting in the way, come see us at the Good Feet store.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Schedule your free test walk at goodfeet.com.
Everyone knows that summer is made for fun. What are you doing for fun this year? Lagoon is Utah's home for summer fun and is now open daily. Don't miss out on all the fun and excitement you can only find at Lagoon. Purchase your season passport today and enjoy all the rides you love and Laguna Beach, Pioneer Village, and live entertainment all summer long. And don't forget, Frightmare's in the fall. See lagoonpark.com for information and to purchase your season passport today. Lagoon, now open daily.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
The new Inside Sources.
We're learning, Holly, that Meta Platforms and TikTok owner ByteDance must now face a wrongful death lawsuit by the mother of a 15-year-old Manhattan boy who died while he was doing something called subway surfing on a moving subway train in New York State. His family filed this wrongful death lawsuit, and these social media platforms filed an answer and claiming that they should be dismissed. And there's a law that Congress passed some time ago called the Federal Communications Decency Act, which gave some level of immunity to these social platforms, and saying, hey, you can't be held liable for people who see and do what you've got here. But the judges said, wait a minute, this one's gone a little bit further. They also argued, Meta and TikTok said, well, it's free speech. We can put on whatever we want. But the judge said this goes a little bit too far.
Yeah, I mean, and I think one of the things that people say about free speech, and you're the attorney here, but it is not a blanket statement that says you can say or show or do anything. We have limits on that, right? It's the whole you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, that kind of thing. But one of the things that's disturbing about this is the trend on social media for these dangerous stunts is growing. And so this young boy, he's only a mid-teenager, he climbed on top of a Brooklyn-bound train, and the subway surfing is they get on the top and then they're trying to jump right from car to car. And you see that sometimes in the movies, right? But this is a trend and it's a challenge for them to do. And he died in late 2023. There were 6 additional deaths last year in New York alone with kids trying to subway surf. And he was run over by the subway cars when he fell in between them.
Right, and he was hit by a beam. So
right.
While he's standing up, he gets whacked by a beam, knocks him down. He falls between the cars, gets run over by the car. He gets killed. Sues these platforms for
parents do, yeah.
Yeah, his parents do.
Yeah.
It's sort of saying, hey, you promoted this. And they're like, we don't promote anything. We just publish what's on there. But the judge actually said these platforms goaded, the judge used the word goaded her son by addicting him to Instagram and TikTok, where he viewed these dangerous challenges. In other words, the judge said he used the word neutral assistance, that they exceeded their neutral assistance, that they actually promoted this.
Right.
And that's going to be a hard nut to crack in a lawsuit, but the judge said, I'm not dismissing this. There's more to this than just neutral content.
Right. And we know, we've talked a lot about social media algorithms and how much these algorithms prioritize content where you have a stronger emotional reaction, right? So you can make things go viral. And I think this is what we're seeing happens, especially young teenagers. Their brain is not fully developed, right? And we need to remember that they don't have the same capacity for reasoning that most adults do, and they're looking at these challenges. And in fact, I did a social media search. I did an internet search to look at some of the dangerous trends that are going on in the United States right now. And one of the places that I found said they just talked about why can peers or other teenagers get kids to do really dumb things and sometimes fatal things, right? And sometimes it's just fear of being ostracized.
Yeah. So they have these social media, I don't know, dares or trends or something to sort of challenges, I guess is the word. And some of them seem a little bit innocuous. Some of them seem sort of funny, but they can. And the subway surfing, I mean, it's
not funny.
It's horrible. I mean, if you were a parent and you saw something like that, you'd say, take that off. But a lot of these, it seems to be a trend, these various challenges that they have on these social media platforms.
Yeah. Do you remember a few years ago the Tide Pod Challenge?
I remember the name, but I don't remember what it was. You eat it or something?
Yeah. So Tide Pods are laundry soap in biodegradable plastic. And so people were swallowing them whole, and people were going to the hospital because you don't eat laundry detergent, right? But that was the challenge, is let's see if you can do this.
Yeah. I mean, it would be one thing in my day when they swallowed goldfish, which was pretty harmless unless you took.
There's always been something, right? But the social media aspect has really amplified this. So teenagers have always been a little bit dumb, right? But there's another one, cinnamon and nutmeg challenge. So it's similar. You try to swallow a spoonful of dry cinnamon or dry nutmeg without any water. But what can happen with these is you can actually inhale that powder. It can get into your lungs. It can cause problems. You could have an allergic reaction, right, where you get swelling in your lungs, really bad breathing problems. I mean, just some stuff like that. And those are the innocuous ones, and they just increase in severity and danger.
You just reminded me of what I liked most on my lattes.
Yeah.
Cinnamon and nutmeg, yes. And it's so hard. Nobody ever has nutmeg, but it's the best. But, I mean, boy, I wouldn't want to eat it by the spoonful. That's just disgusting.
No, and look, we're not trying to give people ideas here. There's enough bad stuff out there, but several of these have, I would say, a fairly high risk of death. And, in fact, we read about one challenge this morning when we were looking up some information about these trends, where you start with a very mild
this one's awesome.
challenge, and you end up killing yourself at the end, which is just horrific.
50 challenges, which end up with that.
Yeah.
You know, Congress jumped in on this, and I'm sure there was a fair amount of lobbying some time ago. I don't remember when this act was enacted, but I actually argued it at the 10th Circuit about 2 years ago on behalf of a social media platform. And so they were coming out and they were producing this content, and people were posting things, and the issue became, if somebody posts something, let's say, weight loss, or it's good to look like this, or jumping on a subway car, and people follow that, what responsibility does TikTok have? What responsibility does ByteDance have, or Meta? Like, you're just posting what someone had seen or done. And so Congress jumped in and said, well, we're going to create this law that gives them a level of immunity. Of course, the free speech clause already gave them that for 250 years. And so this was really interesting to me. I mean, this is just but it's the trial court judge. Certainly he or she will be appealed at the appellate level and may go up much further. But allowing the case right now is just about allowing the lawsuit to proceed.
Right.
ByteDance had said, get out of here. You don't get to do this case because we've got this law that provides immunity for us. And the judge said, you know what? Immunity is one thing, but when you're actually encouraging this conduct, if you're actually seemingly inviting it, it's not just a challenge.
It becomes a trend.
Right, it becomes a trend. So, but I guess I'm thinking ahead of myself. So if you're the attorney for Meta and this is on your site, what's your obligation? Do you pull it off, or do you put a disclaimer at the bottom? Don't try this. This is nuts.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah, don't try this at home. I mean, I think that these platforms are going to have to start thinking ahead when they post this kind of stuff and say, hey, wait a minute, we don't want to do this.
Look, social media platforms are trying to pull off videos with self-harm and some other things like that. I'm looking at some data that says TikTok and Instagram say they've removed about a third of videos associated with self-harm or dangerous acts in the first quarter of 2025. Here's one of the numbers that's disturbing too, is that 70% of parents say they don't know what challenges their kids are encountering. Like they don't know. And yet the majority of teens say they have seen at least one in the last few months, right? That they're seeing these challenges or these trends. And so parents aren't knowing that the kids are being sucked into these things. Look, one of the things when I was in my PhD program, I was looking at some of the things happening in Myanmar and with the Rohingya refugees. And there's actually been some lawsuits filed against Meta because they were the people who were willing to commit genocide in Myanmar against Rohingya Muslims were activating their communities online. They were saying, this is when we're going to go kill the cockroaches.
Right.
This is when we're right. And Meta's response to that was, we don't have the ability to monitor everything all the time. And yet it ended in the deaths of a lot of people and 1 million refugees.
Well, if you get sued for $10 million, you might hire some people to monitor some content
I don't know.
online.
I mean, I think that's pocket change for these big companies, right? I just think it's really, it's an important conversation for parents to have. I think it's important for parents to know what kind of pressures their kids are getting to engage in some of these things at school. Some of them are just like, there's one called the flip-flop challenge where you're supposed to film your friend or yourself going up and hitting somebody in the side of the head with a flip-flop, right? It doesn't sound super harmful, but you could get punched in the face, or this could be the last of a long line of bullying. I mean, there's just so many different things
repercussions
that could,
for that.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
Don't do that.
Flip-flop challenge. Anyway, I mean, and you and I are both huge fans of the First Amendment and appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe Congress needs to jump in and draw some more lines. Coming up on Inside Sources, we're going to talk about another study. It seems like we talk about one of these every week.
We're number one.
Where Utah is number one. This time it's for having the happiest families. Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story at KSL, a group of pilots from Hill Air Force Base will have a busy Independence Day. Several F-35A jets will start doing flyovers at 8:45 in the morning on Friday, first flying above West Point. From there, they'll crisscross the state, making appearances in Mill Creek, Pleasant Grove, Riverdale, Kaysville, South Salt Lake, North Ogden, Salt Lake City, and a bunch of other cities. They'll be flying for several hours with their final flyover in Park City at 11 a.m. Hill Air Force Base has been doing flyovers as part of 4th of July celebrations for 37 years. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A jury has acquitted Sean Diddy Combs of sex trafficking and racketeering, but found him guilty of 2 prostitution-related charges in his New York City trial. ABC's Aaron Katersky says the video of Combs beating his ex-girlfriend was a key piece of evidence in the trial, but the defense had an answer.
It's an unforgettable piece of video, and it was one of the most visceral pieces of evidence that the jury saw during the course of a nearly 2-month trial. And the defense freely admitted what's depicted on it is domestic violence, but they said all along he's not charged with domestic violence.
We are waiting now to see if the judge will allow Combs to be released on bail while he awaits sentencing. Your money at this moment. Right now, the Dow is off 38 points. We're at 44,456. Coming up, scattered thunderstorms this afternoon. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
If Old Spice Deep Sea Super Hydration Body Wash were music, what would it sound like? Start with the deep sounds of Old Spice's ocean waves and kelp. Layer on the smooth, renewing moisture. You wouldn't hear any parabens or phthalates because Old Spice Deep Sea hasn't got any. But you would hear that vitamin B3 for healthier looking skin. So while your regular body wash sounds like this, Old Spice sounds like this. Sounds like it smells amazing.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Over 3/4 of Americans will experience foot pain, and most will just live with that pain every day. But Foot Solutions in Orem is here to change that. Here's Amanda from Provo.
I am an active woman, ex-Division I basketball player at BYU. By trade, I'm a PE teacher. Over the last 2 years is when my feet really started hurting.
And that's when Amanda's life changed with a visit to Foot Solutions in Orem.
My experience at Foot Solutions was so unique to any other experience I've had. Over an hour they spent with me, really going over my specific pain points.
After discovering so many solutions and custom in-house made orthotics, what does Amanda want you to know?
Invest in your health. Don't be cheap to your feet. Living a pain-free, active life again has been worth every cent.
Just search for Foot Solutions in Orem and find out more at footsolutions.com.
I'm Amanda from Provo. I'm 47 years old, and Foot Solutions has given me back a pain-free, active lifestyle.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. And back to you, Heather.
Well, the good news is we don't have a lot of delay anywhere across the Wasatch Front in Utah, Salt Lake, or Davis County on the major roadways. But we do have a stalled vehicle on 7200 South proper in Midvale. This is eastbound just after you pass 700 West before you get to the I-15. It's blocking a right lane, so everybody's having to move to the left there. And then we've got road construction on I-80 out in Tooele County as well as in Summit County in both directions, so that can cause delays from time to time. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cypress Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypresscu.com today. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
94 degrees today with a good chance of thunderstorms this afternoon. We get a repeat tomorrow, but a little cooler, 88 for a high. And the KSL Weather Center says most of the storms will be gone before Friday night's fireworks shows. Right now it's 86 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So, Greg, sometimes being able to quantify happiness is really hard, right?
It's kind of
it fluctuates.
Next to impossible, right?
Right, it fluctuates, and it can depend on the day, even, let alone the week or the year. But a clothing company, Posh Peanut, actually wanted to see if they could put some measurable data around this idea of family happiness. And so they actually used some CDC research, and they used some world population research, and they weighted some of their stats. But what they came up with was a ranking of all 50 states. And as you teased before we started this segment, Utah is number one for happiest families in the nation. And out of a 100-point scale, we came in at 99.2. That's very, very high.
Yeah, and the next one is New Hampshire, which gets an 81. So 99.2.
Big gap.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty high up there. And it said part of the reason Utah did so well, according to this study, we can break it down a little bit more, is lower child care costs, the well-being of children in the state, and Utah ranks the highest in those. Also stands out with low divorce rate at 2.9 divorces per 10 marriages, and low child care costs at 9.4% of income. So those are significant statistics that you would expect when you deal with the happiness of a family. Keeping the family together is something we do here in Utah about as well as anybody.
Right. One of the things that was interesting is I asked you this while we were getting ready. What state do you think has the lowest divorce rate?
I would have thought Utah. I absolutely did.
But it was Hawaii. They're just happy over there, I guess.
Happy and cheerful.
1.53 over there. Yeah, and there were a number of states that had rates over 5 per 10, and then one, I think it was Oklahoma, that had 6 divorces per 10 marriages. Pretty high.
Yeah, I don't know where Utah ranks with the 2.9 divorces out of 10.
Pretty low.
Yeah, I mean in terms of, because I'm looking at some of they only post the top 10 states that I'm looking at here. and they all have similar divorce rates. To me, I guess just having done divorce work a little bit, 2.9 out of 10, that's 29% of marriages end in divorce.
Right.
At first I thought that seems high, but I guess the more I think about it, it seems about right. If you think about your friends and people that you went to high school with, think of the 10 of them, maybe three of them did get divorced. Maybe more.
And it's, I don't know. I mean, I was talking with one of my daughters yesterday, and she said not only does she have friends, she's only 25. She has friends that have already been married and divorced, but she has a lot of friends when they were in their high school years and just finishing high school that their parents were getting divorced at that point. So married, 20 plus years, and their kids are either in high school or graduating. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but I always had heard that that's one of the basically danger points of a relationship is if you have not stayed connected in your marriage while your kids are growing up, then when they leave home, you realize you don't even know each other anymore.
Yeah, we also rank really low in childcare costs. And I'll tell you, Holly, why I think that's important, just because of my own children. And that is that if childcare costs get really high, it becomes so overwhelming that a mother or a father can't even go back to work.
Yeah.
And I do think that the family does well when their finances are good and when they can support their children in the way they want to. So if you've got lower childcare costs, it can make it easier for a parent to go back to work. It becomes worthwhile for them to do that. Now, I know that's not true for everybody, and I know that some people are going, hey, Skordas, it's better if mom or dad are home. I absolutely agree with that in large respect. I also think that it's important that the family has got a decent income when we talk about housing, when we talk about buying a home, we talk about having a place where kids can run around in the backyard and having some stable environment. So it's a mixed bag, and I don't mean to say that stay-at-home parents are any better or worse. Obviously, ideally you have a stay-at-home parent. That's the way it goes. I mean, that's kind of nice. But having the ability to go to work because childcare is down, I've sort of hammered this about as much as I dare here, is sort of a good thing too.
My thought with that is I did stay home with my kids when they were younger. In fact, I didn't work full time except for 2 years out of 38 years of parenting until I started the Utah policy job 4 years ago. But childcare is a crisis. We know we're in a crisis in Utah. So even though the costs are lower than other parts of the country, I'm looking online and it says average monthly cost for daycare in Utah is between $800 and $1,200 per child. But when you're like, if you're only bringing in $2,000 a month and you're paying $1,200 a month, right, in childcare, that's going to make a financial decision for you. But we know that there's a childcare crisis in Utah. So it doesn't say how available childcare is, right? What they looked at is how affordable it is.
Right. And they do have, I'm reading some of it says money can't buy happiness, but stability can.
Right.
And what they're talking about is not just childcare, but the cost of raising a family, the cost of being a family, the cost of because you can do more. I mean, we talked earlier about the 4th of July weekend, traveling, getting out.
Right.
You can do more if you have more, let's face it, resources and more ability to spend money and get out. So that I'm sure affects happiness as well. We have talked in the past, Holly, about the fact that Utah's income is actually quite high per capita.
Right, it's like $88,000 for average
it's
income
one of the
or something.
highest, especially based on our cost of living here, which is relatively low. So Utahns do really well there. And money can't buy happiness, but maybe a little bit.
But stability can.
Right. Yes.
Right. And, I think there actually is a level. People say that kind of tongue in cheek, money can't buy happiness, but you have to have a basic level of income to be able to have, food and shelter and clothing and just the basic necessities. So we for sure need to have at least that. But one of the other things I think that Utah has is this really great environment overall to be able to raise a family. So lots of outdoor recreation activities that are possible. We know that we've got a lot of education possibilities. And a lot of times we talk about, here's where the struggles are. But really, one of the rankings where we do really well is in educating our kids and graduation rates. And there's always room for improvement in all of these different areas, right? We know that. But we also know that Utah does pretty well in a lot of ways.
That's right. And they talk about that directly. They say, in this terms of the study, states with strong social networks outdoor recreation access and community-oriented cultures perform wealthier areas in terms of family stability. So maybe that flies in the face of what we just talked about, money a little bit. But boy, if you've got, like we have here, tremendous outdoor resources and social networks. I mean, it doesn't get any better than here in Utah.
We always had enough when we were raising our family. We had enough for food and clothing and things, but like vacations and things, we had to pick less expensive options. And so we did camping, but we have, 5-minute access to canyon, the American Fork Canyon, and forests up there. And we would go and we would just camp with our kids, tent camping. And it was really fun and really relatively inexpensive.
Given the number of children you raised, Holly, I just can't imagine you ever had extra resources. I mean, we had 3, and it was like, it just became difficult. I mean, I admire you so much for what you've done and raising a family the way you have, and that had to be really difficult. When we come back, we're going to talk about another thing that Holly's been torturing me with, and it sounds worse than it is. Swedish death cleaning. Swedish death cleaning. It's not what you think, and it's not nearly as dark as it sounds. Stay with us.
When is the optimal time to file for Social Security? That could help you get every penny that is rightfully yours. Get the answer in a free report, Your Guide to Filing for Social Security in 2025 and Beyond. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions, who's helped tens of thousands of families get the most out of their benefits. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not filed for Social Security, get your free report now by calling 801-251-1046. Timing, taxes, spousal benefits. This free report details the most critical things you must consider that could help you get the most income from your Social Security benefits today. Get this free report right now by calling 801-251-1046. That number again, 801-251-1046.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. Today, you're going to pay down your credit card bill. But you decide when you'll pay it. Before the due date, so those interest charges don't get you. But you decide if you pay it in full. But you definitely should, because again, interest charges. With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
Affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
An expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
So Swedish death cleaning is actually a favorite topic of mine.
Of course.
I actually have written about it a number of times for the Deseret News, and the concept, when I first heard about it, was really appealing to me. And here's basically what it is. So there actually was a book written by a Swedish author. Her name is Margareta Magnusson. Yeah, I think that's how you say her name. But she was older when she wrote this book, and the idea is when we each pass away, we have stuff, right, that we can't take with us. And the idea of Swedish death cleaning is to actually get rid of your stuff so that your kids or your grandkids don't have to. Some of it is, does it have to go to someplace like a Deseret Industries, or is it just trash that you've been keeping for too long? But if you have really, important emotional, memory maker things, that you can hand those out while you're still alive, right? But to really decrease your belongings before you pass away. That's the idea behind it.
It makes perfect sense. And I'll tell you why, Holly. My parents both died within 6 weeks of each other.
Wow.
In the fall of 2023. So it's only been 2 years. Maybe in 2022. Anyway, and I was the administrator of their estate. Of course, I have siblings, but they died. They weren't necessarily wealthy, but they had a house that they'd lived in for a long time. And my siblings would not, they just didn't want to go into the house. I said, we've got to clean it out.
Right.
We've got to clean it out. They're like, go for it, Greg. It's your problem. And I literally, I rented a dumpster, one of those 30-foot dumpsters, filled it, rented another one, filled it, rented a third one, and filled it with stuff that was in their house. And it wasn't like junk. I mean, when I was done and everything was gone, my siblings are like, well, what did you do with Mom's,
whatever,
Reader's Digest collection? I'm like, it's in the bottom of the dumpster. Like, you guys, I said, everybody come up and get what you want. But I thought about that more and more. And I thought about it in terms of my own situation. And my wife and I were talking about the fact that we were thinking of selling a house a year ago. And we both thought, that's the perfect time to do that, to go through things. What is it that I haven't looked at or used or had anything to do with for 2 years?
Right.
Or if some people say 1 year, if it's been a year and you haven't done anything with it, maybe there's no reason to. And but you hang on to things. Like my parents had some of our little notes and letters and stuff that we'd sent them. Like, how do you throw that away?
You scan them and save them digitally.
What a great idea! But how do you keep them either? What good does it do?
Yeah.
And I think about all this stuff I've got in my own life, in my own house, that I shudder to think when my kids go through the house, they're just going to pitch it all.
Yeah, right. I know. We have this emotional attachment, and I think that's one of the issues that this brings up. And I even have written about how do you Swedish death clean your memorabilia, right? So not just maybe a written family history, but like you said, the childhood, report cards. I even have one of my report cards or several of my report cards, and these things are old now. But that part I save for the last because it's the hardest. And in fact, I talked with one of my brothers one time. I'm like, what do you do with like all your pictures? Now we have everything digitally, but back in the day when you used to develop pictures, right? What do you do? And he told me that in 2020, when he was home with the pandemic, he scanned all those pictures and then shredded them. And I'm like, I literally have giant boxes of pictures from the beginning of our family. And I don't know when I'm going to get back to them, right? So this is for me as much as it is for anybody else. But these are important. And I think one of the things that people maybe our age and older might not realize is that the younger generations don't want our stuff. They just don't want it.
Yeah, and just in my own, think of my own stuff. I've been a lawyer for 40 plus years. I've been a member of the National Ski Patrol for 40 years. I raced bicycles for 20 years. And I have a lot of awards. Now they're cheesy, but they're just, I have these plaques and awards and posters and stuff like that. You know, I have my wife calls it my little award room where I have my stuff hanging up. And I think, who's going to care about that when I'm gone? You know, who's going to, I mean, I've even made some posters from a bike race that I did really well in. And it's the cutest thing in the world, but it's junk to somebody else.
Maybe, and maybe not, right? But when, like my parents are in their 80s, and they've talked about downsizing, but they don't really want to. And my mom says, I like my stuff. But part of her stuff includes like a great big grandfather clock that dings every 15 minutes, right? None of her kids want that.
No.
She has multiple sets of china, which it was really a thing. So if you remember a long time ago, when people got married, part of what they wanted for their wedding presents were a specific china pattern or a specific silver pattern.
Sure.
So my mom got that when she got married, but then as she moved around the world with my dad being in the Air Force, she would also collect other china sets. Well, I got a china set from my parents when I was 16 to go into a hope chest that I would hope I was going to get married, right? I mean, these are things that we don't really do anymore. And the kids are like, why would I have china? It just breaks and it's hard to wash.
But I would say this. My parents had china, beautiful set. And that was one of the things that the siblings said, okay, who's going to get the china? Who's going to get the china? And mom and dad had a will. They had a trust and a will. But it didn't break down the nuances in that, like who gets the china and who gets, you know, they had a grand piano. They had a lot of really nice stuff. And so the lawyer in me, and the reason I think they appointed me to be the administrator, said, okay, we're going to have a lottery. We're just going to have who gets first choice and second choice and third. We'll go through this. And there were some hard feelings at various times. To me, and I don't mean to sound snotty, I didn't want anything.
Yeah.
There was nothing in the house that I wanted. I love my parents, but I don't know.
Right.
It wasn't like important for me to have mom's wedding ring, but it was to my sisters.
Right.
It wasn't important for me to have dad's record collection. It would have been cool, but one of the grandkids was dying to have it, so give it to her. You know what I mean?
Right.
They had 2 cars. We just said, who wants the cars? Take them.
Right. And that actually brings us to an interesting point about wills. So I did an article on how many people in the United States have wills, and it's only somewhere around a third. And I was talking with one of my daughters who has a 2-year-old, and I was telling her, you know, you need to have something in writing. And she's like, that's so dark. I don't even want to think about it. Right. But it's like, it feels like such an important part. But tell us about wills.
Yeah.
Do we need them?
Yeah. So the short answer is yes, they're helpful. But do you need them? No, because the state of Utah, and I think every state has the same thing, we have a law called intestate succession. In other words, how does your state succeed? How does it move forward without a will?
Right.
And the law is fairly straightforward. And so I'm looking at the Utah Code. And the Utah Code says this: if there's no will, everything goes to the surviving spouse.
Mm-hmm.
So that if your husband dies, Holly, you get everything, and vice versa.
Right.
If there's no spouse, it goes to the descendants. And the descendants mean your offspring, your children, in equal shares. So if you want to exclude one of your kids, you need to have a will. Otherwise, it's going to go this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And, or if you want to have, you know, your coin collection go to one of the kids, put it in the will. Otherwise, it's just divided by that. If you don't have any descendants, and I don't want to go too deep into the weeds because the code does, then it goes to your parents, and then it goes. The next step is to your brothers and sisters. But basically, keep it in the family. The Utah Code has that. So I'm not saying don't do a will, but some people think if I don't have a will and I die, everything goes to the state.
Yeah.
No, absolutely untrue. if you have a will and you die, it goes to your spouse, first of all. If you don't want it to go to your spouse, if you want to say, I want something to go to the Humane Society, or I think we should donate to this cause or this cause, or I'd like my sister to have my record collection or something like that. Then you need a will. Then you need something. But and I don't even. I mean, there are rules to wills. You draft it and you sign it and you have witnesses, and I believe that. But I also say this: if you really feel strongly about something going somewhere, make sure that that's clear to everyone, so that there's no dispute about that. Because typically families. I shouldn't say typically, because maybe they do fight more than I thought. Our situation worked out really well. The siblings, at the end of the day, everybody divided by 4, and we moved on. But my parents had a will that said do that anyway. But if there are specific items that you want a person to get to, then I think you need to create a will. Otherwise, don't overthink it. I mean, I was a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 43 years. I've had a will for 5. You know what I mean? Even I could write one in my sleep. You know what I mean? I just fill in the box and do a form. My wife finally said, "Are we going to do wills?" I'm like, "Why?"
That's so interesting.
If I die, you're going to get everything. She said, "No, we're going to get a will." And so we went to somebody. We didn't write it ourselves, even though we're both attorneys. We had somebody else do it independently. And then it ended up being the same thing. If we die, you get everything. We don't. The kids get it. So it ended up following what the law does anyway. We've been watching a couple cases this morning, Holly. The Brian Koberger case, he's scheduled to plead guilty today at 11. Of course, nothing ever happens as charged. And the Diddy Combs case, he was found guilty of some counts, acquitted on some counts, but we're waiting at the courthouse to see if the judge is going to release him pending sentencing. We may have an answer to both of those when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Burl Johansson. KSL's top story this hour: national parks in southern Utah are likely to get flash flooding today. Zion National Park, Capitol Reef, and Snow Canyon are some of the areas at highest risk.
Any hikers or people canyoneering through slot canyons and any normally dry washes, those are generally the highest risk areas for flash flooding.
National Weather Service meteorologist Julie Cunningham says anyone planning activities in the area should check the weather beforehand, since once in the canyon, you often can't even see the storm causing the flooding. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: House Speaker Mike Johnson says the House could vote on President Trump's budget bill as soon as today.
We've already seen a group of Republicans, House Republicans, enter the White House today. We know that the president is going to be speaking directly with some of them, that there are going to be multiple meetings between senior White House staff members with these Republicans. And an official tells me that the president has been heavily engaged in this from the beginning, and that there's been constant communication between the administration and House Republicans as this bill was making its way through the Senate and undergoing changes there.
That's ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang. Your money at this moment: the Dow is down 38, the S&P up 19, the NASDAQ up 168. Coming up, a chance for more thunderstorms. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. And right now, you're going to pay for groceries. But you decide what groceries. Just keep in mind you're running out of dishwashing soap. But you decide if you're going to buy that soap. It's just those dishes won't clean themselves, will they? Remember, with Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Everyone loves the look of granite countertops, but they aren't the only option. When it's time to give your kitchen, bathroom, or basement a fresh new look, start at CountertopFactoryLLC.com. Countertop Factory offers high-quality laminate countertops that look amazing and cost just 1/3 of the price of stone. Yeah, you heard that right. 1/3 of the price. And these aren't your grandma's countertops. You'll get that luxurious look and feel without emptying your wallet. And with beautiful varieties of colors and patterns, it's easy to find something affordable and durable that fits your style perfectly. Countertop Factory installs most countertops in only 7 to 10 days from when they measure. That's faster than you can binge watch your favorite series. And it's not just countertops. At Countertop Factory, browse cabinet options to match your new countertops, all professionally installed to ensure everything looks flawless. From homes to offices to schools and hospitals. Get started 24/7 at CountertopFactoryLLC.com. That's CountertopFactoryLLC.com.
Held over due to popular demand. This is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, there are no accidents reported on the major freeways across the Wasatch Front, but you do have plenty of construction barrels. Right now, they are slowing traffic. Southbound I-15 as you leave Kaysville, head through Farmington due to the right lane being closed there. From time to time, you're going to have slowdowns on eastbound I-80 in Summit County, trying to exit at US 40. And right now, we've got a crash on SR 224 near Park City. It's at Holiday Ranch Loop Drive. That is heading southbound, and it's partially blocking a right lane. The Good Feet store, supporting you with comfort no matter what the day brings. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 94 degrees today with some scattered thunder showers this afternoon. Tomorrow's high 88 degrees with a chance for more storms before we heat back up to 91 for the 4th of July. Right now, mostly cloudy and 90 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Virl Johansson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Holly, when we started the show this morning, we were just coming off of some latest news at the time. Now it seems like a long time ago, even though
Diddy
it was
or
only,
Diddy?
Yeah, Diddy, right. And Sean Diddy Combs had been in trial for about 4 weeks on various charges, including racketeering, transportation to engage in prostitution, and sex trafficking. He was convicted of the transportation. In other words, people used to call it the Mann Act, but transporting somebody over state lines for the purpose of engaging in prostitution. He was found not guilty of the sex trafficking because 2 of the victims, and these were former girlfriends of his, had claimed that they were forced into prostitution, and that's a separate crime all by itself. It's a serious crime. The jury found him not guilty of that, in part, Holly, because they had a lot of communications between him and his then girlfriends where they didn't seem to mind what they were doing, and without getting into the details, they would be prostituted so for his own pleasure to watch and whatnot.
Right.
And then he was charged with racketeering because he was making money and doing things.
Is this a criminal organization?
Right, is this a criminal organization?
Yeah.
But an organization, of course, requires more than one person, and there was nobody else that knew what was going on. So the jury acquitted him of those serious charges. The reason I talk about this is because we're waiting for something that actually shouldn't take this long, and that is for the judge to decide what happens next. He's been convicted of 2 counts that each carry 10 years in prison. That's very serious. but he's been in jail waiting this since September, so he's done some time. The question is going to become at a later date, which is a sentencing, which that date hasn't even been set yet, but it's going to be sometime in about 60 to 90 days, what his ultimate sentence is going to be. In the interim, the judge is going to decide if he should be released pending sentencing, because the charges that were dismissed are serious enough and probably have what most people would call mandatory prison or jail, that a judge is just going to hold him. But what he has now is something where he could very well get probation. So the judge is going to, show us a little bit about what he's intending here by doing that. What I don't understand is it's been 3 hours.
What's taking so long?
Usually the judge decides it in minutes. Usually while you're still sitting there. I mean, so he might be in chambers talking to the lawyers saying, okay, I'll release him, but let's put some conditions on it. Let's put an ankle monitor on him. I want his passport surrendered to the court. I want him to check in with an agency once a day, report on where he is, what he's doing. Or the judge might be saying, I'm not letting him out. But if that's the case, why are we waiting 3 hours? Yeah. And so I'm sure they're arguing that back and forth. We may have a decision on that soon. If we do, we'll break away to that. But I wanted to talk about this Bryan Kohberger case. We talked about this yesterday because it was breaking news when we started the show. Kohberger, if you recall, is the man who was charged with killing 4 college students from the University of Idaho up in Moscow, Idaho. He was a student nearby at the University of, I guess it was Washington State University, which is not far over the line between Idaho and Washington. He was charged with killing 4 students. We were in the weeks before trial. There was a lot of motions going on. His attorneys were upset that the case was getting a lot of pretrial publicity. Somebody from the state or involved in something had leaked a story to, it was either 2020 or something like that, one of those big shows, and the judge was upset.
There became a gag order.
Who did this? It was a gag order. Yeah. We didn't know what was going on. The defense was trying to get the thing postponed. At the last minute, and this is literally the last minute, the defense called the prosecutor and said, we will plead guilty. Now, this came from the defense. We know this. The prosecutor didn't offer the plea bargain. The defense offered the plea bargain. We will plead guilty to all 4 murders and the burglary and agree to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
And no appeal, right?
And no appeals.
Right.
But we're done. And we will, if you will take the death penalty off the table. Now, the prosecution apparently ran that by some victims, or at least had some communication with the victims, and said, sold, we'll do it. 2 things have happened since. One, that's set for a change of plea today at 11. It's now 11:10, but nothing starts in court on time. And so I'm sure there are some machinations going on there as well, including the following. At least one of the victim's family members has said, wait a minute.
I couldn't be there.
Right. You didn't talk to us about it. You just said, hey, we're thinking about a plea. And all of a sudden we read or hear that he's taking a life without a plea, and they're furious. So Idaho has a law similar to Utah's, which allows that in Utah we call it the Victims' Bill of Rights, that says the victims have rights to be notified as to important hearings. And certainly a change of plea would be an important hearing. They have the right to be notified. They have the right to be counseled about it. Right. And they have a right to opine as to whether they agree with what's going on. Now, in a criminal case, if you look at the pleadings, it's the state of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. The victims are not a party. Right. They're not a party of the case. They're but they're the victims, and their families are obviously to be consulted and talked to, but they don't ultimately have the decision-making ability to say, hey, we don't want to do this. Ultimately, it's up to the state.
Right. So one of my questions, I think, for you was, when this is happening, is there a way for this plea deal to be taken off the table? Or is this basically a done deal at this point?
So the judge ultimately will decide, and that may be what's going on there now, whether or not to accept the plea. I would assume this judge would say, of course I'll accept the plea, because judges often look at cases like this and say, look, the prosecution's had this case. I mean, this crime occurred in November of 22, I think. So it's been 2.5 years.
Yeah.
The defense has had this case for some period of time. You guys have looked it out. You've been working on it. You people have all the information. If this is an agreement that you want, that's fine. But the judge is also going to say to the prosecutor, why didn't you consult the victims? And I don't know that the judge will reject the plea. I think that would be really problematic. for another obvious reason, which is
he already said he would plead guilty.
Right. He said, I'm going to plead guilty. So how do you have a trial in 2 weeks
Right.
when a guy said, I'm guilty, I'm going to plead guilty? I mean, how does he imagine to get a fair trial now? Because he's already said he's going to plead guilty. So that's a huge problem. I think the judge has to let it go. But I would expect the judge is going to have some words for the prosecutor and say, why did you do this? And more importantly, if he's as good a judge as he is advertised, everything I've seen about this judge, he's incredibly good. He's going to have some words for the victims' families and say, look, I understand how you feel. I empathize with you. I understand where you are and what's going on. This is an agreement that's made for this reason. And frankly, I think a judge, it would behoove him to say, if there's any consolation at all, it's that this man will never, ever, ever be free. I mean, he is going to die in prison. Right, whether it's by execution or by just being there for another 60 years. I mean, you're getting some solace. And I think it's also incredibly valuable, Holly, having done murder cases from both prosecution and defense, for finality. And you don't get that with death penalty cases. You're always wondering what's going on. I mean, there's
multiple appeals and
and
decades.
And then you have you have a execution is scheduled for June of 2028, and then all of a sudden, it's June of 2038. It's June of 2048. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the family's going, what's going on with this? So we may have some information about that later as we come up. If we do, we'll break away. But when we come back, we're going to talk about a delay in another criminal case. So this was a Sandy City stalking case that talked about. It'll help us kind of understand some of the nuances to Utah law as it relates to domestic violence and maybe a flaw in the law. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
I am down 50 pounds in 11 weeks, and this program works. The pounds melt off. It's amazing.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself.
Get in the best shape of your life with Soda Weight Loss.
Just 3 weeks in, and pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Summer is right around the corner.
Your summer body starts right here because Soda's summer savings are on.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I tried other things, came to Soda, just amazing.
I started on Soda 8 months ago, and I have released 80 pounds now.
Summer savings, stunning results, only at Soda Weight Loss. Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA
weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for never giving up and always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for letting me know what you expect, so I can try to meet your expectations.
Thank you for talking.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
An expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
When we left at the last segment, we were talking about the Brian Kohberger case, Holly, and wondering, there was one question that you asked, and that is that does the judge have to accept this plea if the the victim's families don't want it? And the answer is the judge can do whatever he chooses. Just reading between the lines here and listening to what the judge has said so far, what he's saying is the state doesn't have to pursue the death penalty, and I can't force them to.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes me think he's going to allow the plea to proceed. We'll have more on that later. But we are going to talk about a delay in response to a Sandy City stalking case that highlighted sort of lesser known, and I didn't even know about this, Daniela, provision of Utah law. We have KSL investigator reporter Daniela Rivera here to talk to us about that. But you interviewed a woman who was clearly the victim of domestic violence, reported that to Sandy City, and where did the case break down?
Certainly. This was a troubling one. She went to Sandy Police on May 16th to report a severe case of stalking, harassment, and revenge porn. And we've seen these cases end in death
They're awful.
in
Yes.
this state.
They
It's
can
really
end horribly.
scary
Absolutely.
because we're dealing with someone who's lost rationality,
Right.
they've lost control. This woman was able to go through the courts, get a stalking injunction, have a hearing, have that stalking injunction upheld. All of this happened before she could get a call back from a detective.
Wow.
She didn't receive a call back from a detective until June 4th.
Wow.
And that's after she had called them up and said, I'm going to go to the media.
More than 2 weeks later.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she did. That's how I got involved. We
Yeah.
looked at this and frankly, the delays were really troubling because we know how quickly these cases can turn deadly. I've spoken with Sandy Police. This was kind of, compounding errors. For instance, the first officer who took this report is a newer officer and did not recognize that this is a DV case and it needs to be treated as such. And then, moving forward from there, the case was assigned to a detective who was out of town at mandatory training.
Wow.
So kind of several errors here one on top of another, leading to this delay in a very scary situation.
Yeah. So here we are in July now, and what were some of the things that didn't happen that should have happened?
The big one is a lethality assessment. That's a survey that police are actually mandated by law to use in domestic violence cases. And it's a series of questions that help them understand the level of danger and risk in a case and how much danger that victim is in. That didn't happen.
Wow.
It actually didn't happen until we asked about it, and it was that illuminated that was missing, and then they went and did that lethality assessment. And then after we aired our first story on this, we heard from an attorney who said, well, they also didn't follow this law. And in our domestic violence laws, it says a police department must send an incident report for a domestic violence case to the appropriate prosecutor within 5 days of a complaint. Well, that didn't happen. And so we dug into that, and frankly, I'm understanding that there are several departments that may not really know that this is part of our law. It's not something that's trained. It's not something that's emphasized like the lethality assessment has been in recent years. And so certainly this case is shedding light on that requirement. And Sandy police are not the only ones who haven't been quite tracking that.
Yeah, it made me think the lethality assessment protocol, the LAP, it was something that got highlighted because the lieutenant governor's cousin ended up dying in a domestic violence situation. And so her team, as they started looking in, lethality assessments were being done by some police departments, but it wasn't across the board. And so we got a lot of media about that. And I think I saw recent reporting that still only about 65% of police departments across the state are doing them, but it is mandated and there's now a database. But it sounds like on this other thing, even though the law's been on the books for a long time, this reporting, that it's just not getting done.
Yeah, I thought this was new. I was feeling like other folks in the system thought this was new, but we spoke with a prosecutor with Utah's Prosecution Council who said he traced this all the way back to at least 1995. I mean, that's
30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from what I read in your reporting, Daniela, had they done the lethality assessment, this case would have been they've been on some higher alert. That the factors in this case were enough that a lethality assessment would have indicated a problem that they needed to address pretty quickly.
I believe so. I haven't seen what the lethality assessment, I haven't seen the results of it since they have done it, but we consulted law enforcement experts, former, retired detectives who said, based on the factors in the case, revenge porn, not stopping harassment after a stalking injunction, those are really, really big red flags that led them to believe that this woman is in danger. Now, we sat down with Sandy police actually yesterday, and we had a great conversation. It's going to air tonight at 6:30 on KSL 5 News. And I talked to the chief, and what he told me was we were too slow, and he laid out a series of corrective actions they've taken so that hopefully this never happens again.
Right.
You have to think this, Sandy City Police Department is one of the better police departments in the state. I mean, they're really good. Their chief is really good. Their people are very well trained. And so if an agency like that is missing out on this, then you have to wonder about those that don't have quite the resources or the manpower.
Maybe
or the
rural areas.
That, like you say, a lot of agencies just aren't doing this. We didn't know that because when we had the Lieutenant Governor in here a while ago, she made it sound like it was a statewide thing and people were following it. But you're learning otherwise.
In this case, certainly the lethality assessment just didn't happen.
And I wonder if this is because you mentioned the person doing the initial intake was new, if they didn't realize that stalking can also be is considered domestic violence, right? It can be considered domestic violence.
Yeah, and I had questions about that too. Obviously, I'm not a police officer or an attorney, and where there's been no physical abuse, but this was a past partner potentially.
Yeah.
I had questions too about does that apply, and I've been told yes. And our
absolutely does.
Our understanding of domestic violence, it's a huge spectrum,
Right.
and this severe stalking is absolutely part of it.
My guess is that's probably why it was overlooked.
Yeah, so you're right, Daniela. You're 100% right. But domestic violence is really any crime between former or current intimate partners. And so if you've lived together, even it doesn't even have to be intimate. It can be
now there's dating
like
violence.
It could be the kids, mom and dad or something like that, or roommates. But domestic means that there was some living relationship. I'm sorry, intimate was for another crime. But they do these lethality assessments for a reason, and the state has mandated those. And my point was this. In terms of domestic violence, it doesn't have to be a crime involving physical violence. Domestic violence can actually include property destruction.
Yeah.
You know, there was a fight at the house and some furniture was broken or something like that. That can be a crime of domestic violence. Stalking can be a crime of domestic violence, even if there was no physical confrontation. We think of violence as the obvious definition, but it doesn't always have to be physical violence.
Certainly.
You know, one of the things I want to just let listeners know that if you or somebody you know is going through abuse, that help is available. And I think that's really important to people to understand, right? The Utah Domestic Violence Coalition operates a confidential, statewide 24-hour domestic abuse hotline, and it's 1-800-897-LINK, which is 5465. So anybody can access that at any time. And, it doesn't, we talked about this recently, actually. Sometimes things happen and people observe them, but they don't report it. And that's an important component as well.
How did this woman find you? I mean, what happened there? Because it seems to me that had she not called you, there wouldn't have been a remedy. Like, you were the one that actually got the
remedy
wheels going. I mean, just because she's seen you, or how did she reach out? I don't need to know anything personal, but
no, someone in her life who's helping her, support her through this situation she's in was aware of our Failure to Protect series, which, if you don't know, it's something that we started in December of 2022, and that series has explored gaps at every level of our criminal justice system. That series gets results, and so I believe it was that work that they were aware of, and they reached out, and so that's something that we're proud of, that we are a space where people feel like they can go when they aren't having their voices heard.
Yeah.
And is Sandy City going to do some level of education? Did the chief say
Yes,
this isn't going to happen again?
Absolutely. I don't want to give too much away from our story tonight because I do want people to tune in at 6:30, but I have to commend the police department for taking action. I learned yesterday that the following week after this happened, they did lethality assessment training for all of their officers. Because they do not want this to happen again.
Yeah.
So they've taken action and they're owning that. And I think this conversation should be something that, hopefully this waves the flag for other agencies. And I think the ultimate goal here is that this woman is safe, that justice occurs in her case, and that we're all a little bit better tomorrow.
When can we see your story?
Tonight at 6:30 on KSL 5 News.
We will watch it. We will watch it. Thanks, Daniela. Thanks for always being available for us.
Sure thing.
When we come back after the break, fireworks, fire danger, and fire in the backyard barbecue. We want to know, what are your favorite barbecue dishes? And text us at 57500. What is that fire danger? Favorite dishes? Who wrote this? Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. When we come back, let us know what your favorite dishes are. Text us at 57500. Barbecue weekend, fire danger. We'll be back.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour: fireworks are now legal to light in Utah, and State Fire Marshal Ted Black says go ahead and celebrate, but use some common sense. He's also asking us all to watch the weather.
If we've got severe winds this evening or any time through the holiday, it's a time to choose another way to celebrate. We want people to celebrate. We live in the greatest nation on earth, and it should be celebrated. But if you've got high winds, extreme fire danger, you live in an area that's closed, or you just don't feel good about it, please don't do it.
He says even green grass will burn, and the brush around the state is drier than it appears. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: Tesla sales plunged last quarter, and deliveries took their biggest hit in history.
Tesla uses a direct sales model, which means our best proxy for how vehicle sales are doing are deliveries. And deliveries for the electric vehicle manufacturer are down significantly, off 14% from a year ago. The company was recently the target of widespread demonstrations against CEO Elon Musk's actions in the federal government. Tesla is also contending with a more crowded and competitive electric vehicle market.
ABC's Mike Dubusky reporting. Your money at this moment: the Dow is down 36 points. The S&P is up 15 points. And coming up, scattered thunderstorms this afternoon. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Kinetico is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result? Kinetico delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Kinetico dealer, Kinetico Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
The KSL News Radio movie show comes to Fat Cats in Saratoga Springs this Friday from 10 to 1. Be sure to bring the family to Fat Cats for the Flashback Summer Series, featuring classic movies back on the big screen with easy summer pricing. Just $5 per ticket to see classic movies like The Goonies, Top Gun, and Karate Kid. Beat the summer heat at a great price at Fat Cats. Fat Cats flashback movies run Monday through Thursday nights all summer long. Great, fun summer entertainment while you relax in Fat Cats' all-luxury recliner theaters. Order handmade pizzas, burgers, or salads from the Fat Cats Grill, and they'll deliver them right to your seat at no extra charge. Fat Cats always makes it a premium movie experience at a price families can afford. Fat Cat Cinemas in Clinton, Bluffdale, and Saratoga Springs. Learn more about a Fat Cats experience at fatcatsfun.com. That's fatcatsfun.com.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing for a summer sale, starting at $20 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $20 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
We are back to a delay-free drive on all the Valley freeways and the final clearing of a crash northbound. I-215's West Belt 2100 North. It never really caused a problem since it was completely off the roadway, on the shoulder, and out of traffic. Take UTA instead of driving and actually enjoy your ride. Try UTA to see the difference. Plan your trip at rideuta.com or on the Transit app. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 94 degrees today with storms moving in this afternoon. We'll see similar conditions tomorrow with clearer mornings and storms in the afternoon. Right now, 88 and mostly cloudy. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
And just a quick follow-up, Holly, on the Kohberger case. He is in the process now of pleading guilty. The judge is going through a very lengthy, what we call a colloquy, a statement to him. Do you admit that you did this? Do you admit that you did that? And he's saying yes, yes, yes. So he's already to count for what they'd have to prove. So it looks like he's both accepting the plea over the objection of the victims and that Kohberger is entering the plea. We'll follow up on that as it moves forward today.
So you were kind of making fun of me with the tease about fireworks and fire danger and fire in the backyard barbecue, but there's a reason. So you can officially start lighting off fireworks today legally, right? And
it's
the second,
2 days before
the
holiday.
That's right. So we're going to actually talk to the state fire marshal about what to know about setting off fireworks this week, but still, we do want people to text in their favorite summer barbecue dishes at 57500 because that would be the last part of this segment, and we already have several answers. So Ted Black is the Utah State Fire Marshal, and he's joining us today to talk about fire safety and fireworks specifically. Welcome, Ted.
Hi, how you doing?
So good. We want to know, what's your best advice for fireworks and fire safety this coming weekend?
Well, you have to. And there's lots of public shows that will be available, and that may be a better choice for many of us. You can see that it's hot and dry, The fire danger is high. Even if grasses around you look green, they will still burn. So if you choose to use fireworks, please use extra caution this year.
Hey, Ted, how do our listeners know which areas around their jurisdiction, their city, or around the state you can actually light off fireworks? Because I see signs that say, don't light off, in my area, up in the Ogden area, don't light off things east of this street or in this area. How are they made aware of that generally?
Well, you just mentioned one. Pay attention to the signs in your neighborhood. If they say don't light fireworks, then don't light fireworks. These maps are posted generally at the fireworks stands within that locale. They're also on the website of your city or your city fire department. And then anybody that has sent them to us, we have posted on our website. And so you can go to any of those venues and check. And if you're just not sure, call and ask your fire department if where you're at is okay. But check all those other places first. We can't inundate the fire department on weekends like this with too many calls. So check their website, check my website, look for signs around your neighborhood. If you're in the foothills, just assume that you shouldn't be lighting fireworks.
Good advice.
Right, that is good advice. Are there other fire restrictions in place around the state besides these individual ones in maybe rural, urban areas?
Yeah, so forestry fire in state lands, our state forester, J.B. Barnes, has issued some closures in the unincorporated areas, and you can check those on their website, and that's the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. And obviously no state parks, generally school grounds, it's not allowed, no state buildings, and just use good common sense. Look around yourselves. It should be adults, and children should be supervised, and children should not be lighting fireworks. And look around. In the fire service, we call it situational awareness, where you're aware of your surroundings and the dangers that are there.
Ted,
practice that habit yourselves.
Yeah, that sounds like great advice. Just in closing, what's the biggest problem that you typically face in a weekend coming up like this?
People breaking the rules, doing foolish things, doing things that they know are not right. Practice good common sense. Have a charged garden hose. Have a bucket of water to put the duds in. And if you choose to use alcohol, don't choose to use fireworks. They don't mix.
That's great advice. We've been talking with Ted Black, the Utah State Fire Marshal, with some really good advice for this coming weekend.
Sounds like a fun guy, actually.
Right. Like, please use your heads, people.
Right, absolutely. So you can be charged with certain crimes for violating these rules, and I know that there's always fireworks. I think there was even there's a time commitment, like on right now, starting today, you can light them off between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m.
Right.
From the 2nd through the 5th, and through the 22nd through the 25th. But on the actual day of the holiday, the 4th and the 24th, you can light them until midnight.
Midnight.
You don't get to light them at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and everybody, I mean, at least where I live, sorry, people, they do that. It'll go 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes pets really have pets, and sometimes veterans actually, it can be really triggering to hear these explosions going off. So please be aware and be kind. We had a daughter. She passed away, but when she was younger, we could not have her exposed to these loud noises. It could even bring on seizures for her. And so there are issues that I think just common sense, like you said.
And there's a money component to it too. If you're firing up the grill for the 4th of July, Melissa Aiden has a breakdown of how much it might cost you.
Wells Fargo's Agri-Food Institute says hosting a gathering this year for 10 people will cost about $130 for the food and beverages. That's just over 2% higher than last year. Burgers are always popular, but beef is up 7.4% from 1 year ago. If you're adding eggs to your potato salad, those eggs are up a whopping 40% over 2024.
$130 for 10 people. That's $13 a head. That seems about right.
Right.
Maybe a little steep.
Yeah, I mean it's cheaper than going out to eat at a restaurant.
Certainly, right. Or have them bring their own, meat, whatever they want.
Right.
Have everybody bring
I've seen
one
that,
thing.
right? Bring your own barbecue, BYOB. That a different kind of B.
Bring a dish. So let's talk about some of our favorite dishes. And we've already got several texts. Actually, I've received some personal texts on my phone from people who are like, "Hey, Greg, what about those baked beans?" And actually, one of our guests has also brought that in too. Smoked baked beans. I wouldn't have thought about that, but I'm not thinking about it now because I love it.
I haven't done smoked baked beans. It's like, oh, you should have sent a recipe.
Yeah.
So I will just say for the 4th of July weekend, I always try to do some kind of fun food. I have done layered jellos in the past where you have red, white, and blue layers, and you can do clear gelatin, or there's some flavors that are just, really very clear, and you can add some like ice cream or something so it looks creamy. But I've gotten a little lazier as I've gotten older. and so now I will do a jello dish, and it's usually red jello, and then I'll do whipped cream, strawberries, and blueberries on the top and make it look like a flag. So that's a tradition every 4th of July weekend at our house.
And you also have painted fingernails.
I do.
You are into all this holiday stuff. I can't wait for Christmas and
yesterday I wore
Halloween.
blue. Today I wore red. Tomorrow I'm going to wear white. So there we go.
Yeah, we have some guests that are talking about you don't want to be around me when deviled eggs are coming up. A grilled pineapple.
Yeah, that sounds delicious, right? What are some of your favorite go-tos for 4th of July weekend?
I don't eat burgers much, and we don't cook burgers much, but there's nothing like the barbecue grill. You get it out, put burgers on it, steak, whatever you want. I'm not a beef eater, but on the 4th of July, I'll eat as much beef as I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
So that's what I like. And I like to. My wife really grills vegetables. She just puts them on the grill. And how do you not have corn on the cob?
Right. We love corn on the cob. We have a texter who said mac and cheese, and we love that too. My grandkids, they'll eat the regular boxed mac and cheese, but when we add in like all the ooey gooey cheese, boy, they just love that stuff.
Well, there you go. So we have to go back to this subject for the 3rd time, Holly. You're torturing me with this. Christmas in July. More of Holly's fun facts. We're talking about the Christmas movies that are coming out in July. I hadn't thought about this before, but there they are. We'll be back.
I'm Maria Chaleos, and I'm here with Dale, another client of Salt Lake City Fat Loss.
Thank you.
Now, Dale, why did you join the Salt Lake City Fat Loss program?
Because it has to do with accountability. I need somebody to hold me accountable.
What was your goal with your weight loss?
I started out at 330 pounds, and my goal is to get down to 200 pounds.
Were you able to meet that goal?
I've lost 46 pounds. I've still got a ways to go. I figure I probably have 2 more sessions to go with it, so I'm going to stay in as long as it takes.
What helped you be successful at losing weight at Salt Lake City Fat Loss?
Because I believe in it. I'm living it. It's a part of my life now.
Do you recommend the Salt Lake City Fat Loss program, and why?
Absolutely. It's the best program I've ever been into, and I've tried lots of diet programs.
Learn the secret of losing up to 1 pound of unhealthy fat per day and start your own success story online at slcfatloss.com. slcfatloss.com.
Results may vary. KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic. plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals. And it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Syringa Networks continues to support businesses with their tech needs, offering services like managed IT, network connectivity, cloud solutions, and cybersecurity, all while staying committed to keeping organizations secure and efficient as they grow. Senior Account Executive Renee Reed joins us with more.
At Syringa Networks, everything we do comes down to connecting people to what matters most. We're not just providing internet and transport services, we're empowering businesses, advocating for customers, and strengthening communities every single day. Founded in 2002 by 12 rural companies, Syringa was built to bring high-speed connectivity to Idaho and beyond. What began as simply connecting companies to the internet has evolved. Today, we support your entire technology ecosystem, from connectivity and cybersecurity to customer experience and workplace efficiency, even driving revenue through AI-powered innovation and insight. As the leading technology services broker, we put customers' needs first, helping you find the right solution, not just any solution. We've reimagined how people connect to what matters most. Now we're here to help you do the same for your team, your customers, and your future success.
Syringa Networks is committed to providing Utah with great internet services and exceptional customer service. Visit their website at syringanetworks.net today to see what they can do for you and your business. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Right now at S&S Roofing, get $1,000 off any roof replacement. Plus, you'll get their incredible 50-year worry-free warranty. Dial pound 250 and then say the keyword S&S Roofing for a free bid.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Wonderful time.
No, it's not. It's not the most wonderful time of the year. It is not the most wonderful. I'm not going down this road, Holly.
It's so funny.
I'm not going
it
down
just
there.
keeps giving lots of love. So last week on June 25th, I actually learned this from Ricky Meese, but it was Leon Day on the 25th because it's exactly 6 months before Christmas. Leon is the backwards spelling of Noel, right? So that was something new that I learned. But I was already familiar with Christmas in July, and Ricky educated us on how this has been a thing for retailers. And we talked about Hallmark movies. And then, lo and behold, the Deseret News actually printed an article about 4 new Hallmark movies, Christmas in July.
These are brand new ones that are coming out.
Yeah.
That we don't know about yet. So what do you know about them?
Well, I don't know anything about them except I'll probably go watch them.
Yeah.
So there's a mini series that did premiere last year during the actual holiday season, but they're going to rerun that. It's called Holidazed. And so it'll be on just streaming. They have one called Unwrapping Christmas, Tina's Miracle. One that I thought was interesting to me was Christmas at Sea. And so this is actually a real cruise that happened.
Oh.
And it actually had stars of Hallmark shows who were on the cruise. Like it wasn't a movie about a cruise. It was an actual cruise. And then they're filming the stars being on the cruise.
That'd be worth watching.
Maybe.
So I do have to ask you, do you have a favorite Christmas movie? And if so, would you watch it now?
Yes. And I will tell you what it is because it is, I think it's so funny. It was a Ryan Reynolds movie and it's called, I think it's Spirited. Let me look really quick. So it's a new one and it's a new take on the Christmas Carol. And I love that. And probably second favorite is the Muppet Christmas Carol, and I would watch that anytime.
So obviously Christmas Carol, there's an old one that I watched with Alastair Sim, I think was the star, from like the 30s or 40s. That's the greatest one. But my favorite Christmas movie isn't really a Christmas movie, but we always watch it at Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was one of those movies that's popular, and it's called Love Affair, a 1994 movie with Warren Beatty and Annette Bening.
I don't know it.
It's like I don't know. It's the Christmas movie I watch every year with my wife.
Wow.
It's one of those that you cry at the end.
Oh,
I
yeah.
cry. It's one of those. So anyway,
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spirited is the name of the movie with Ryan Reynolds. It's a musical, and there's a line in there that saying "good afternoon" is like a swear word. Back in London in the 1800s, and so I did have grandkids going around saying "good afternoon."
Yeah, there you go. Okay, what's today?
Okay, fun fact: UFO Day. So, UFOs, are they real or not real? Right, that's a question. And there are one of the things that's interesting to me is that nationally, recently, there has been some move by the administration to say we're going to look more into these sightings of UFOs. There are some people within the administration who are like, absolutely, there are UFOs, unidentified. I think they've changed the word. It used to be unidentified flying objects, and now it's unidentified anomalous phenomena, but that's so UAP.
Right.
But my father-in-law swears, he passed away about a dozen years ago, but he swears he saw a UFO one night. He was out in the backyard, and he could see this disc-like thing rising above the tree line, and he was sure that it was, an alien spaceship, not just something that was unidentified. I'm probably not convinced, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't believe in UFOs, although I think I saw one once. So I know that's inconsistent. There was something. It was definitely unidentified. It was definitely weird, but I don't think there are UFOs. We would. I don't think there's Yeti either, or the Loch Ness monster. I mean, some of these things just don't exist. UFOs are on that list with me.
Well,
fun to think about, fun to talk about, fun to watch shows about, but no.
The University of Utah actually posted a few days ago that they'd had a conversation with some of their geologists, and one of the questions they asked is, why is the U.S. Department of Defense so interested in these? And one of the reasons is clearly because they could be a foreign threat, right? They're not saying these are aliens coming from outer space, but we do know that like China has spy balloons, and they were way above our field of vision until we started to have some crash, right?
Right.
So just some of those types of things. Anyway,
Yeah,
UFOs.
Well, okay, we've got that. So let's go back to this, because we are here on July 2nd, and we've been talking off and on today about the 4th of July coming out. Yeah. We do want to revisit this. A record number of people are expected to hit the road for the 4th of July. Travel experts say the majority of people will be doing their drives today. The UDOT guy said he thought that the big push would be
in
tomorrow.
Utah tomorrow.
But yeah, a lot of those will be starting today.
AAA is predicting more than 61 million people will drive for the 4th, and they expect the busiest time to drive will be this afternoon and into tonight. If you want to avoid delays, experts say the earlier you can head out in the day, the better, or you could be like Evan Lagrone, who tells me he would wait until the 3rd or 4th to head out.
Depending on how far you're going, and then take a little bit of time after the 4th. I feel like if everyone else is taking time before the 4th, off of work and everything, it would probably be a little easier to get off that time after.
UDOT's encouraging everyone to plan ahead and give yourself extra time. They're also going to pause construction on most major projects to help limit congestion. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
I was going to say that's Adam Small from KSL News Radio, but he did it for me at the end. 61 million people on the roads, or
driving,
at least out, going out this weekend, and I think 59 million of them will be on I-15 probably tomorrow afternoon when I want to get out.
We have a big country. So yeah, it's actually record-setting numbers of people traveling. There's also a lot of people, like 10 million people are planning to fly, and international travel this year is down a lot. There's a lot of reasons for that, but one of them is people are not coming to the U.S., and so airlines are struggling. And so if you're wanting to travel internationally as an American citizen, it's actually easier and a little bit cheaper for you right now.
Yeah. So you've got a big family. What are you doing on the 4th?
We are staying home. I think we're probably going to go to a pool, and we'll be there with a lot of other people. And we are we're going to do a barbecue like we've talked about. I think we're probably going to do chicken, but we're going to watch a movie. And I think I'm going to watch Independence Day. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah. That's the one.
That's aliens, right?
That's definitely your 4th of July movie.
like a
And
four-
I think
yeah.
they play the national
They
anthem
do,
or one of
right?
those great symphonic things about. Yeah, that's.
Do you have
great.
a favorite 4th of July movie? Independence Day movie?
No, I don't.
Yeah, interesting, right? So
I can't think of a 4th of July movie that I like.
there's one like The Patriot. I didn't ever watch that, but that's the founding of America. I mean, there's some of those. I remember reading.
There's a really awful one called Born on the 4th of July. Don't you remember that? Where he's like a
No.
Vietnam vet or something. It's like, ugh.
There's like music.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Right. Yeah, don't watch that one.
Yeah. So also yesterday, speaking of the 4th of July, yesterday in Utah and around the country, really, but this will happen over the next year. We kicked off a year-long celebration for the 250th birthday of the United States of America. And we had Marie Osmond was actually at the Utah Capitol and talking about this great country. And we had Governor Cox speaking. We had the Lieutenant Governor. We had Representative Celeste Malloy all up there talking and really setting the stage for a year of birthday celebrations. I mean, you don't turn 250 very often.
We're doing a long drive starting tomorrow. You and I have our show tomorrow, so we're not leaving until after that. But we've had, I can't remember his name, Dave Cowley in the studio, and he's been talking to us about that Uinta Triangle
his
series
podcast,
that he's doing. And
documentary
he's got
podcast.
9 segments. I'm going to listen to them. That's going to be my drive.
That's great.
I think that's what we're going to do is you sit back, pull those podcasts up and listen to them during our drive, because you said that they're about an hour each.
Yep.
That's perfect for our drive out and back. I'm going to get all cut up. So when I see you Monday, we're going to talk about that whole
That's so
podcast,
great.
because it's really an interesting thing.
It really is.
UDOT has absolutely encouraged people to plan ahead, give yourself extra time. Adam Small said today's supposed to be the bad day. Our DOT guy told us that tomorrow's going to be a bad day. I think that's a good sign. Meaning, if there's 2 bad days, it means there's really 2 sort of medium bad days.
Yeah.
We're not going to
US
have it all.
6 is particularly bad because of they had to reroute because of bridge construction, so they do narrow down to 1 lane. So that area up by Wellington,
yes,
right, going to be a little bit difficult.
But if you're going to be stuck, it's also really one of the most beautiful parts of the state. I love Highway 6.
And listen to podcasts while you're stuck.
There you go. Brian Kohlberger has officially pled guilty. It looks like his sentencing, the judge was indicating sometime in July 23rd. We'll be back after the break. Maria Chaleos will actually be back. She'll break that down. And stay with us on KSL News Radio.
What it is that he's agreeing to in the Ada County courtroom.
And Mr. Kohlberg, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made